Alright. So, I think I have all my Frankerface Z emotes loaded up here, so, I am gonna do a bit of warm-up. So, a few months ago, I was trying to find, like, kind of like the trigger for a mission complete. So, usually it's, you know how it's within that orange spot? I was trying to see if I could find it outside, like Infinite Shelter did for the third game. And well, things happen. Let's see what happens. So I thought, oh hey, what if I go up here?
I'm rolling out. A dozen ghost tanks
Yep.
couldn't stop me.
This was a thing that happened, and Ape. I I did it. And that was kind of the birth of the emote APC lol. I just wanted an excuse to show that off.
I don't like their attitude.
I mean, God.
Keep casualties to a minimum.
Yeah. Well, Cordelia wouldn't be too happy about this, but yeah. I think we're good here.
Come out, wherever you are!
Alright, so I'm gonna quit out. God, yeah. Getting this on a PlayStation TV was a massive pain, let me just say this. And then when I try to get out...
In days long...
Still have to do the weird workaround. Alright, so... Gonna do... Alright, so I am Wandering Mind. Yep. And I'm gonna do one check here, so... Instant, on, and instant. So... I'm gonna be doing 80% normal. And, yeah, I'm just ready, so gonna do the countdown. So, 3, 2, 1, and go. Right. So, this is Valkyria Chronicles 2. This is second in a trilogy of, like, strategy RPGs turn-based with third-person shooter tactics. And, so the gameplay has, like, two main elements. So, we have our command mode, we have a map, we can pick units as long as we have command points. We then switch to action mode, which is the third-person mode and where the shots are gonna be fired. I just gotta kill these three guys. They are a bunch of rebels who invaded town, and we gotta kill them, and I am so glad I killed that guy. My gun is inaccurate, and I'm gonna go for what I like to call the double swag shot. So if I time this up carefully and if the game is nice to me, I can kill two guys at once.
Let's go.
This could save 10 or 12 seconds, but I don't like resetting if I miss it, and God, I was so close. Whatever.
Enemy down. Moving out. Coming at you. Enemy down.
Yeah, and you really want to get up close, especially within like the first hour or so. Also, fun fact, you are stuck within these missions, these briefing screens, so if you fail them, you are stuck in there. The only way you can get out is by quitting the game.
Here I go.
Moving out.
Oh, I can hear you. I'm just focusing.
I see one.
Alright, so, oh, he can't.
I see one.
I think... Wait a second. There's my problem. I feel so embarrassed.
Moving out.
I forgot to mute. I had the desktop muted by accident. I can hear you. So I just lost my focus. Whatever. I hope I don't get killed here. Besides, I gave myself a generous estimate.
That's that mission's gonna not do well on.
Yeah, so you have to do a precise grenade shot launch, and you still have to make it to the camp alive, and usually this is done in one turn, and this is where I would reset. I got stupidly lucky, by the way, and my gun is also inaccurate. So
That's right. You get plenty of turns to actually finish those.
alright, so I guess, I'm not sure if you want to start from the beginning, we still have time.
Something you turn my volume up.
Alright, let me
Enemy
do
down.
that. I should have checked this before, but let's see here.
Nice. They've got to.
Alright, I cranked up the volume.
All right. Testing. Is that better? Chops. Let me know now if that's better or not. Great. Perfect.
Alright, so, we have, this is gonna be like 3.5 to 4 hour run. We can just start from the beginning, I guess.
Yeah. So you guys didn't hear me because apparently Devin had me muted. I'm Ghoul02. I was explaining a little bit
To
earlier. This game is
begin,
basically
here is today's
Fire Emblem
news.
with real-time elements. Is kind of the best way to put it. So it's kind of the
Ah,
same type of
Lamont.
tactical RPG.
How can I help you
but
today?
there are real-time third-person shooter elements, such as what you saw there. I'll go into it a little bit more when he's actually doing stuff, so you can actually put a video to what's going on. So yeah, this is the mission briefing and mission select. This is where you choose which units to send out. Every unit's actually unique and has different stats and abilities and things like that, which is pretty cool. There's five basic classes. We're gonna focus
Okay.
right now
let's
on
go.
mostly scouts, which are the icon you see
I
right
see
there,
one.
which is the giant. Oh, what am I gonna call it? I'm gonna call that a butt. So the
Enemy
giant
spotted.
butt shape, that's the scout. Scouts have the best
I
movement
see
in the game.
one.
They use rifles and they carry one grenade.
Oh my god, so I got a rare frame perfect trick, whatever. So if you aim a certain way, then try to pull out a weapon, the game doesn't know what to do, and you get sniper rifle crosshairs. I have not gotten
Okay,
that in a
let's
long
go.
time, so
Yeah, I
that's
feel great.
like, consider yourself lucky. Frame perfect trick, that's
before?
useless.
All right.
Yeah.
So you see right there, we use the grenade to knock them out of the sandbag. Sandbags, when they're crouching
Commencing
behind it, it ups their
Feel
defense and it
ready.
prevents you from getting headshots in them. So getting rid of that sandbag is really important because rifles don't do much damage to crouching. So that's why we have 3 scouts here, because you only get 1 grenade per
I'm sorry.
turn. So get off the
Roger.
sandbags and then run up and shoot them in the face, or just kill them with the grenade if they're scouts. The scouts have less HP. So yeah, scouts have, if you see at the bottom of the
I don't
screen,
miss.
that movement gauge, scouts have the ability to run the furthest, but in exchange they really
Good.
aren't supposed to be able to do that. The idea behind them is supposed to be that they're able to go far, check for enemies, and they're not supposed to be able to really do all that much damage.
Underway.
We can get around that by using grenades and doing headshots, where if you shoot someone in the head, it's an
You're in the
automatic crit
way.
that does something like, it's like 2.5 or 3 times the damage, isn't it?
Yeah, something like that. I know it's...
2 headshots will kill and 4 body
Roger.
shots will kill normally. So
Yeah,
it's
this
like,
is a nerf from
I
the
don't
first
miss.
game where it was like 3 times the damage. In the second and third game, it is twice the damage for both sides.
Good.
right. So we should go into what the series is a little bit. So the first game in the series came out on PlayStation 3. It was originally an exclusive game, really famous for having the watercolors, which you can see a little bit of in this game, where the edges of the screen kind of taper off into kind of a parchment type look. in the original game, that was a much more profound part of the game because the game was supposed to be basically like you were reading a history journal, and as you went through, you know,
To
the
begin,
story literally
here
popped
is
off of your
today's
feed, this
news.
history journal. This one has the motif a little bit, but since the
Good,
PSP
you're
hardware
here.
wasn't really that strong, they really had to kind of downgrade some of the graphical elements of the game. So some of the different
clearance
things in
for a
this game
new
that
order.
in the original, the maps are generally much smaller, and there's a lot fewer units that you're using at any given time.
Welcome to
Valkyria
R&D,
Chronicles 2
kid.
caps you at, I believe,
Make
6
yourself
units
at
at any
home.
given time on the map.
Yeah,
For yourself, and in the original it was,
Ah,
I think
Avant.
the highest was
How can
12
I
or
help
13.
you today?
yeah. I know that the third game let you have more units on the maps. I think. Oh yeah, also, I did the only leveling trap in the entire game, like, Ghoul was the first person who ran this game, like, back in, like, early 14. I kind of picked it up later that year, then really optimized the game, so... the only reason why we level up, like, our one other unit is to get defense boost.
Okay,
We're gonna
let's
get
go.
it later. I also had to visit R&D, just the game makes me before I can do anything, and... I used to kill that guy, but I realized I can miss, and, how can I make this any dumber? Let's just run past him, because if the original strat doesn't work, let's just go riskier.
Moving out.
Right, so whenever you level up,
I
you
see one.
basically increase
A
all
crisis is
units
a
of
turning
that
point.
class,
Right, bro?
which was originally in the first game because there was permadeath, where if a unit
Moving
died
out.
and stayed dead, they were unusable for the rest of the game. So as a way of kind of preventing you from leveling up individual units and then having those units die with permadeath, they made it where classes all level up together. So all your scouts level up, and then all of your your shock troopers, excuse me, this is in Star Wars. All your shock troopers level up at the same time, and it gives a bit of extra accuracy, but mostly you get a
Okay,
big burst.
let's
of
go.
power.
Enemy spotted.
My original route for the game, when I was doing it on emulator, I actually found out that you didn't need more than like 6 levels, but for safety, a lot of time I leveled much higher. Mostly splitting that between scouts and shock troopers. I don't know what Devin actually does now.
I only just level up, armor techs, and that's for defense boost. We don't even get attack boost anymore.
Right, so the route's changed a lot from back when I had my little scrubby route that I made, so which is great. Like Devin is
To
probably the
begin,
single most passionate
here is
person
today's news.
for this game, basically ever. Which it's been really cool to see him push this game from the really basic, simple route that I had to what it is today.
Yeah. I honestly love this game, and it's like, for a game that just doesn't get quite a lot of love, it's just great to really be able to just push the game in, maybe get other people to run the game. Like, I know Infinite Shelter's actually helped a lot with the route, and I'm hoping one day he can do a full run. He's actually in chat right now.
Right.
But yeah, so... God, yeah, it's just... I just remember the first time I picked up this game, it's like, I just played it nonstop for a month and a half. I thought I was done after I 100% it, and well, things happened.
This is actually a really, really big game. Like, I believe my
Okay,
first completion
let's go.
was something like
I
60
see
to 80
one.
hours.
Yeah.
I'm
Enemy
sure at 100%
spotted.
this game would take the several
Enemy
hundred
spotted.
hours worth of playtime.
Yeah. Oh yeah, last month I actually worked on, well, basically the 100%, so, all missions, so, minus
Enemy
all
down.
the R&D grinding,
Enemy spotted.
and it still forces you to really explore and use every
Okay,
aspect
let's
of the
go.
game, so, I
see
believe
one.
it can get under, like, 50 in-game
I
hours.
feel great. Enemy spotted.
Also, I'm almost dead. Whatever.
Ah!
Yeah, so you'll see right there the guy that was shooting at us with the machine gun. That's a shock trooper. The general purpose,
Alright.
so the purpose of scouts is to be able to run further, do a little bit less damage, but able to see things and so on and so forth. Shock troopers are supposed to be your main source of damage. They have machine guns to do ridiculous amounts of damage. They don't run as far.
I smell a big
Trying to think of any other major attributes. They still carry just one grenade. So this mission, he just has to shoot this crate.
Yeah, I just kill her, just make it faster. Shout out Infinite Shelter for pointing that out. Saves like 2 seconds, which in the early game is a big deal. Also, oh god, I hope I get steel parts in this next mission. You want to go over materials?
Yeah, you're in a menu right now. They're saying if you could turn the game volume down just a hair, that would probably be good.
Alright. Alright, did that.
materials, you said, right?
To begin,
Yeah, materials.
here is today's
Right,
news.
so we were talking about how our guns and such are pretty bad in the early game, and we can actually upgrade those as we go, but to do that we
hold
have
on.
to get a
How
certain
can I
number
help you
of
today?
materials and then spend money to use and R&D those into better weapons. I believe-
Okay, that was.
unless you're talking about coatings, which is a different thing that I never dove too much into.
Yeah.
But it's generally kind of weird. I don't remember it having too big of an impact on my route, except for a couple of weird things that would happen if you didn't get the right materials. But you get them for just killing random units. It'll say at the end of the mission what materials you got. And it's fixed, and it's a lot more complicated than I actually understand.
Yeah. So I actually did my major menuing trip where I bench a lot of units and then just my roster for the rest of the game. I actually use Silvaria.
Engaging.
She's a password unlockable character. She's in-game and not DLC, and I figure I'm gonna make the
Enemy
route
sighted.
a little
There you are.
less painful, and I figure she's fair game. So Silvaria has 40 more
I
health
invite
than
you
the
to
next
try.
better scout, so
Enemy
Almud,
sighted.
and for this mission that makes a huge difference. Like, God, most scouts would be dead by now.
Yeah, I used to use Cosette, who was an engineer for this back in my original route. Simply
Enemy
because you
neutralized.
couldn't use Yvonne because Yvonne, I believe, is locked into another
I
screen.
invite you to
And
try.
the goal for this mission is just to take this flag. So, does Silvaria have the general
Enemy
Valkyria traits
neutralized.
that she kind of like?
No, I don't know. It's more like she has really good accuracy, better health, but she has bad potentials for tanks. Like, I
I
think
was wondering if she had a
no, she doesn't.
mysterious. She doesn't have a mysterious body.
I don't, I haven't really checked. I just chose her
okay.
because she had the most health.
Fair enough. I was gonna say if she did, then there'd be some other pretty interesting stuff. My route never
here is
used
today's
unlockable
news.
DLC characters.
Yeah.
Silvaria is pretty famous from the original. She's probably I wouldn't say the mascot of the series almost. She's the most popular character
Yvonne,
in the original game,
How
despite
can I
being a
help you
bad
today?
Yeah, kind of the face of the series. And we have our APC mission. We don't really use the APC. In fact, the game doesn't really force you to use it. It's more of a thing in the third game where it sees a bit more use, but here, I think you're supposed to put units in them, but we never
You're
do
supposed
that.
to use it. The concept was you're supposed to be able to load up 2 units in it, put them in the APC, have the APC drive them somewhere, and then they get out, and then they go kill stuff. The problem is the APC's movement
Right,
isn't very
let's
good, and
get her
it's a
done.
very, very bad tank, and your tank is one of your most important units.
Ooh.
Specifically, the light later we'll get to, but the problem with the APC is it takes 2 of your command points to actually move, which is really, really bad, because you want as many command points as possible. And there's a tank that only uses 1
I
command
see you there.
Yeah. So what I was actually trying to do there is a stupidly dumb trick where I knock an enemy at a certain angle,
I'm
close
rolling
enough to
out.
another scout, so I can kill 2 enemies with 1 grenade. Saves about like 8 seconds, but it is not a big deal. It is difficult, and besides, there are other ways I can save time. I try not to stress myself out too much.
Cute.
Bloodthirsty, so it's random. I get to attack twice, but we have
Okay,
a 30
let's go.
shot machine gun. It's not efficient.
Right. Every character in this game has their own
Coming at
potential.
ya.
So, Lavinia, who's your vehicle / tank
Enemy
driver,
down.
she's also the person that does the R&D for you. Her potential is called Bloodthirsty, and she'll just randomly get a chance to shoot
Okay,
twice.
let's
And there
go.
are points where it's good, and there's points where it wastes the time for the animation,
Coming at
as
you.
you have to actually finish the turn without her.
Yeah.
Enemy down.
I'm trying to remember. I know
A
the other,
crisis
like
is a
some of them are
turning
really
point.
good,
Right,
some of them
bro?
are pretty bad. I don't remember. Yeah, Brother's Words, I believe.
Moving out.
Attack power.
Let me
Yeah,
am.
attack power.
I actually want.
Coming at you.
They're kind of the game's way of giving characters personalities. So
All
you'll
right.
have like that's Yvonne's, character traits that he remembers his brother was important to him, and that's why we're at this school is to find out what happened to his brother. So there's a lot of those, and they kind of unlock as you go through the story or do more missions for each character.
I actually wanted Brothers Words for combat exercise. Would have saved like 10 or 12 seconds, but it is random, and I
Here is
try not to
today's
stress
news.
over too much. Alright, so should we go over credits? Because that's going to be a thing I'm going to worry about now.
Sorry?
Oh, credits.
Oh. Yeah, so the other thing that's really...
Avant. How can I
you
help
talked
you
about ranking
today?
up your weapons and getting better tanks and such. Now, the one thing you can do with this run is you can also upgrade your classes. So you could have a character that's a scout, and they can change class into either a scout, veteran, or a sniper, I believe is the other option. And each of those classes are different things, but in order to do that, they have to get certain credits for doing important things in a mission, whether that's killing a unit, capturing a base. A certain number of credits are given out each mission, those go to those units for that. Now, it's random which ones you get, so there's
let's
times
go.
where we won't actually be
Enemy
able to get,
spotted.
say, a Vaughn
I see
into
one.
a higher level scout, which is very, very tricky. Like, it can be worked around, but whenever you level, you get a scout veteran, they get more movement, better health, better weapons. It's actually like really important that
A crisis
Avant
is a turning
becomes
point,
a
right, bro?
scout elite. I believe it's the final class
Okay,
by the
let's
end of the
go.
game.
Oh, sorry, I was busy focusing.
Final class
Let me at 'em.
for scouts. It's scout
yeah.
elite, right?
Yeah, Scout Lead, we don't really need it, but it's
Okay,
just
let's
nice
go.
to have.
It's really nice because you get more movement.
What's a little blood loss?
I think you can get slightly better defense. I believe you also get
Takes
Ragnade
more than that.
if you go to scout veteran that you don't
Yeah.
have access to as. So it's a big.
Yeah, also I almost died. I didn't even notice. But we got March X, so that's really good. I normally don't do it on this mission anymore. I do it in later one, but for marathon safety, I just want to get it here. Because World Record Route only has one mission where we do it, but here,
is
Marathon
today's
Safety
news.
says we're just going to do it in 2 missions. Also, that last mission is a very good example of how most of the game is random. So except for story missions, enemy placement, what kind, where the landmines are, and even sandbags, those are all random, and that makes the speedrun very interesting.
A lot of this run is reacting to where enemies are placed, and it's also one of the biggest reasons why there are several types of missions in this game. And one of them is almost impossible to do consistently fast, and that is the route enemies missions. My original route used to do
Okay,
one, and I knew
let's
it
go.
wasn't optimal, but I couldn't figure out a good way of doing
A
it.
crisis is a turning point,
But
right,
I
bro?
believe this route does no route
Enemy
missions
spotted.
after the first couple, which is
Enemy
fine, because the
spotted.
first couple are story missions and have set or fixed placements anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
So there's a lot of mission
Enemy
objectives. Some of
spotted.
them are just capture this base, some of them are kill this boss unit.
Coming at you.
There's collect these items, which will be randomly placed in one of a couple places, and you got to go
Enemy
figure out
down.
what the are very quickly. It's
I'm just getting
yeah,
started.
there's a lot of understanding of where the game can place stuff and how to respond when things don't go how you expect them to.
Yeah. And that's why I really stress, like,
Watch
rather
and
than
learn.
resetting, like, you want to finish runs. Also, we got Zeri, he's my favorite. And we're going to do something pretty special here, by the way. Don't worry about my health. So, this guy is an enemy commander. We don't know his stats. He has good evasion, but we can just make him stand up, and we're just going to run around, and hopefully I can quick kill
I
him.
want it done right.
Just gotta think
see you
outside the
there.
box here. And, okay, come on, game, please be nice.
You're through.
So close.
So the reason we took so much care to run behind him is that it's very
This is
common
nothing.
for command
I'm in top
enemies to
form.
actually dodge your attacks. You know, basically when you start to fire, they'll immediately duck down. That also gives them the same cover
Yes.
as if they were at a sandbag. So even if you were to like predict it, you really can't do anything. Now if they don't see you, they can't duck and avoid your attacks. So that's why he did that weird thing where he kind of ran backwards, was to drop line of sight with him so he couldn't see him, and then switched around to the other direction and took him down.
Yeah. There's only been one time where that guy dodged me from behind. There's actually a video highlight somewhere on YouTube. But weird things have happened in this
To
game. I
begin,
can't
here's
put anything
today's
past it.
news.
I mean, after playing this game for so
Avant.
long,
How can I help
still
you
get
today?
surprised. God. But this is... Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, so you're playing this on Vita, right?
I'm actually playing this on a PlayStation TV. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, Vita TV. So the weird thing about this game is that it plays perfectly on Vita, but you can't download it directly to a Vita. So the most roundabout weird thing you have to do to get Valkyria Chronicles 2 onto a Vita is you have to have a Vita normal, download it to your PlayStation 3, move it from the PlayStation 3 to the Vita, which it'll let you do, which you won't for a lot of other games.
Right.
And then you
Get her
have to
done.
transfer that memory card into a Vita. It's a really weird process that somehow works and shouldn't.
Yeah. Oh, and
But
you get
it also means that you can play this with on an HD monitor as opposed to playing off of the component cables on a PlayStation. You can use a real controller, and the community is very small, so it's not a very big problem.
yeah. God, like, I know that when I had to put DLC, I messed up. I had to wipe my entire save, and the way of transferring stuff from the PS3 to the Vita or PS TV or whatever is not very reliable. So, like, I know
Yeah, it's a pain in the butt.
the last time I actually had to transfer everything over, I brought my PS3 and my Vita into the kitchen because it was close enough to the router. Didn't even have a TV hooked up to my PS3, and somehow it just took an hour to transfer everything over. So, oh, and the DLC, one mission per file. So it's 22 DLC missions plus the game, 23 files in like 2 hours. I don't know. God,
Yeah.
never doing that again.
It's not particularly fun. It's weird though that it lets you do that because I know I've got like Phantasy Star Portable 2, which is not playable on Vita, and it won't even let you download it. So, anyways, I guess we should explain this mission. This is a defend mission. Now, the one thing that's kind of funny about this is, so we have to keep them from getting into this base and taking it. That's the entire purpose of this mission. Now, they don't have anything that can kill a tank. So all we do is we park a tank in the base, and then we skip our turn a bunch, and then we end it. It's actually faster because the only other way to end this mission faster is to kill every enemy, which just takes too long compared to just sitting there waiting for the AI to realize there's nothing you can do and then just sitting in the base. You'll see that pretty commonly on these. Eventually, it's going to give you multiple bases to defend. We'll still park one tank somewhere, but for the most part, it's going to be defend missions are kind of a little break from the rest of the run, where all you really do is
To begin,
park a tank
here is
if they can't
today's
kill it, or
news.
kill the unit that can kill your tank, and then park a tank.
Ah, Avant.
So we
How
got
can I
another
help you
defend
today?
mission, and oh yeah, so kind of thing I kind of worked into the speedrun way back when. So we're gonna go for a special weapon. It is called the Captured AA Gatling A1. It's the most broken turret in the entire game, but we have to do some steps first. First, we have to kill a special unit with a name. They're called the Ace. They are slightly more powerful, but we kill them once, we get a weapon plan. We repeat the mission, we may be able to get the item because they can drop multiple things.
I'm rolling out.
Right, and it's pretty random. I think it's a 1 in 3 minutes or so.
Yep,
It takes about a minute, I
rolling
believe,
out.
to complete this mission. It's a pretty quick one.
yeah. Faster than the other one we did. There are 2 missions, so storming the
Down
bridge.
you go.
And this one, problem is storming the bridge. We need to get the constructor arm. I have a lot of menuing, and there's a chance you can mess up on that mission. Here, the only way I can quote-unquote mess up is if my tank misses, but I can just destroy the tank at turn number 2. I just lose like 5-6 seconds. Not a big deal. It could be a lot worse, as I like to put it.
Right. So something that's kind of different about this game is that, unlike Fire Emblem, which is kind of the normal thing I'll point to as a similar type of game, you actually can use the same unit twice. And the one thing that's nice about that is your opponent will never use the same unit twice. And there is a penalty for using the same unit twice, in that you can't, it cuts your movement by, I believe, 20% each time until you're at 40%, at which point it won't go lower.
Yeah, something like that.
And but you can use it to use one unit much more more often, which will lead to more damage, and it kind of changes the quote-unquote meta of the game to really revolve around getting 1 or 2 units into places safely so they can do a lot of damage and just totally wipe it. But since the opponent will never use it, it's kind of nice because it protects a lot of units, like your tank, for example, since they could, in theory, move the same unit to kill your tank. It kind of helps out a little bit there.
Alright, so we're going to repeat this mission, and so I am playing this on a PS4 controller. The nice thing about it, the touchpad serves as start select button. We do a lot of mashing of start here, so the cutscene skipping is so good.
To begin,
When I hadn't watched the
here is
cutscenes in
today's
2 years, I
news.
forgot they were even there. It was like you could just do it on the.
How
It's
can I
like the
help you
easiest
today?
frame whatever trick, whatever.
Yeah, the cutscenes in this game work kind of like a visual novel, and just by pressing start, it'll bump you right past them and get you right into the gameplay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So also, we also have to press start to skip the player phase and enemy phase text. That's like 8 or so seconds every time you let it play out. Also to skip like dialogue, and we can even skip the transformation sequences for the class upgrades. That saves like 8 seconds, whatever. So start button
Right,
is your
let's
best
get
friend.
her done. Eat this.
And yeah, so there's a little bit of RNG with how many enemies or whatever the game wants to do, because even though I'm on instant, the game
you
still has to
go.
process everything, and that can affect things. Like, there are times I've lost like 5 seconds on a perfectly normal split, just because.
Right, what essentially is happening in the background is the game is simulating what it would do, and sometimes it takes a lot more, especially if there's, for example, a lot of units around you. It has to figure out, okay, this unit would go here, and it would take this much damage. So while it's faster than letting the animations play out, it's still, especially for a console, like the PSP, where it's not particularly console hardware, running that in the background does take time when there's a lot of units on screen.
Yeah. And like, kind of nice thing is that, I mean, once you play the game enough, you'll be able to really anticipate how the enemy will act and like be reckless enough, knowing that you're going to be safe. This is something that carries over to the post game, which is massive, and yeah, I mean the enemy can be pretty dumb, and just gotta have faith in the damage formula. Damage formula. So you take your defense, either your front, side, or rear defense. Yeah. Okay. So you have your health. Actually, you know what? I'm losing my mind here. This is why I'm glad you're on here. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
As far as this game having a ton of content, we do 55 unique missions in the run, I believe, and that's maybe 60% of the max number of missions you could do to that point in the story, and then post-game content, there's a ton of it.
To
Plus,
begin,
there's also
here is today's
individual
news.
character stories where every character in the game has their own backstory in a single mission that goes along with it. There's a lot to do in this game, which is pretty cool. It's a really, really well-made game.
Yeah, so we didn't get our weapon drop, and for the sake of like moving on, I did make a marathon save, which I prepared like an hour ago. So glad I got that drop, but that means we get to see the rest of the run. So let's see here. Saving is a pain in the ass, by the way. Okay, let's one. All right, so you cannot copy or delete saves, so you have the ability to save from the ground up. The third game fixed this, but
To begin,
you think it's bad,
here
but
is
like
today's
all the
news.
saves are like in one larger save file, and so if you delete one file, you
Welcome
delete
to
everything. It is
R&D,
pain in the
kid.
ass.
Make yourself at home.
Yeah. So, yeah, for the sake of time, we could just keep doing that mission until we got it. We'd get it eventually, but in a marathon, usually we'll try for it once just to see if we can actually get it, and then just move on if it doesn't happen.
Yeah. So I left all my menu and everything up until now. It's just a kind of nice place to do it, and thankfully, upgrading stuff is very quick. So I guess if you want to talk more about it while I do this.
Yeah, basically, every time you upgrade a weapon, you get better accuracy, slightly better damage output. A lot of it isn't actually necessary until later on. Back when I did my original brooding, I actually found out, like, okay, at this point, if you upgrade it, you can still one-shot people. If you do this, you get an extra miss, you no longer get the one-shot kill. So, something that is important to note here is, I believe we do have the light tank A. The light tank A is nice because unlike any medium or larger tank, it only takes 1 CP to move, which makes it essentially the best unit.
How can I help you today?
For everything except for it can't take bases for you.
Yeah.
And that mission, what we got was we got a turret that does, compared to the standard turret, it is probably about 3 times more accurate. Does about double anti-personnel damage and like 5 times anti-vehicle damage. It's a lot better.
Oh yeah.
And we originally didn't even need that. My first route didn't use that turret at all. It just used the stock turret, which dealt with misses and less advantage.
Moving out.
It saves a lot of
Enemy
time and opens
sighted.
up a lot of really cool strategies that shoot stuff that's barely on screen and stuff because the tank
You're
turret is so
through.
much more accurate than.
Oh yeah. So the
Yes.
Vanquish sticker gives me like 10 plus
Watch
AP.
and learn.
I always like to think it makes a difference. Also, shout out to half coordinated. I had to do it.
Shout out to half.
Enemy silent.
Dude.
Target silenced.
This game helped me actually meet him because he submitted Vanquish to the Sunday sequence break back when that was a thing, and I submitted this game, and we got to know each other like 2 years ago. So we kind of go back.
Right. Let's get her done.
Yeah, so here's the power of the tank. It's not its full potential, but boom, that accuracy. So every VC1 runner hates me right now. Hi,
In the
Cataref.
original Valkyria Chronicles, the tank is actually one of the worst units in the game. In Valkyria Chronicles 2,
Moving
they
out.
kind of realized it and tried to give you more options for the tank
I see
to
one.
utilize. And
I
one of those
Crisis
options
is a
is
turning
really good, and
point.
a lot of the
Right,
others
bro?
are kind of terrible.
Yeah. Because, like, they give you so much to upgrade, but, God, it's like you stick with the light tank B plus the turret for the entire game up until you complete the post-game. But,
It is cool though because Valkyria Chronicles 1 you would use a lot more of scouts to try to get into areas that you weren't supposed to be able to get into, and the tank really didn't have much to do. If you're using the tank, it was because the game forced you to use the tank for something.
To begin, here is
Valkyria
today's
Chronicles 2
news.
is pretty cool in that every single class is useful, including the tank. Like I said, the tank is actually probably the best unit in the game.
oh boy, here we go. VIP Escort, this game made me rage quit the first time I played, and then I came back with vengeance.
Yeah, so Valkyria Chronicles games have this thing where they like to have one or two really big difficulty spikes, and this was the first big one in Valkyria Chronicles 2. You were forced off of your light tank A because you have to use an escort APC. There's a couple of missions that are escort APC, and the goal is to get the APC, or a specific APC, you can't even actually change it, it's always going to be the same one, from one point in the map to another, and this one drops in what are called T2 units, which are basically this game's equivalent of, well, we're going to take the final boss from the
Listen
first game and
close.
make him a normal.
Hold fast.
Yeah.
Hunker down and defend.
So the in-game lore is that there are these really
Okay, my
powerful,
turn.
kind of almost mythical group of people called the Valkyria that use giant swords, or giant spears and shields and what you can to just kind of destroy everybody. So they wanted to kind of channel that power as well. So they built these weapons that you could just put on a person with similar equipment. As long as there was this supply vehicle around, it would give them the same, like, similar capabilities. So by taking them down, we're actually going to lower their movement, their damage output, and their defense by ridiculous margin.
I'm rolling out.
So right there, we snuck past Derek, who's a boss. You're not supposed to kill him, but really.
All set to go here.
Basically,
And he hits hard. He almost killed me, by the way. I got unlucky. But
like, if you stand there, he will actually kill the escort APC, and most enemies really can't do a lot of damage to the vehicle.
yeah.
That said, the APC is kind of terrible in that it'll take 1 damage from every bullet, no matter what. It gets pretty close to dying in a lot of places.
Yeah, Dirk is like one of 3 units in the entire game that can actually scratch your vehicle. The normal V2s can't even do that, so really when I use Defense Boost, it just increases the chance of me surviving rather than making me invincible, if that makes any
Right. Let's
sense.
get her done.
Right, we didn't go over orders at all, did we?
Nope, orders got terribly nerfed in this game.
Right, so in Valkyria Chronicles, there are these things called orders where you spend a certain number of your command points, which are the ability that lets you
Right. Let's
pick
get her
characters and
done.
move them, and so on and so forth. If you spend multiple of them, you can say, I want my units to have more defense, or I want this unit to
I'm
have
rolling
more
out.
attack points, or able to kill vehicles easier. And in the original game, they didn't really balance them very well because nobody really used them, and what they were secretly like the most broken thing in the video game. So they kind of realized in Valkyria Chronicles 2, oh, we made these too powerful. So the way they nerfed them is they made them cost a lot more CP, but they worked for everybody on the map instead of a specific unit.
Yeah.
So instead of costing the original game, it was 1 CP for defense.
To
boost,
begin,
which, again, you
here
can use
is
the same unit
today's
multiple
news.
times in the same turn. It's now 4, and you get like 5 or 6 moves or CP period.
Ah,
So
Avon. How can I help you
really,
today?
really made them much harder to use. There's a couple missions we'll still use them, but for the most part, they're really, really hard to use effectively because in order to get the most out of them, you almost have to wait a turn to build up CP. So your CP will carry over from turn to turn. You get like 6 per turn, and you can max out at 20. So let's say I move my units 4 times after starting with 6 CP. I'll end up with 2 CP, and the next turn I'll get 6 new CP. So I'll end up with 8 CP for the next turn. And for every one of those CPs you spend, you can move or do orders and so on and so forth.
Okay, so we got our first supply crate mission. So
Enemy spotted.
supply crates show up in random spots and set
Yeah,
locations.
I feel great.
I hope for good patterns. We are already not getting a good pattern. So like I can lose like up to like 40 seconds of my splits or whatever.
Yeah,
Thankfully, we only have 4, but yeah,
these
go.
missions are probably the hardest in the game to optimize because not only do you have to be able to know where all of these crates are, you have to respond very quickly because
Underway.
you can't look on the minimap and see where the crates are. You have to physically send a unit
Enemy
over to
sighted.
check and make sure, like, oh, is it over here or is it over here? So you see one right there in front of him. He's gonna pick it up with helmet and almost die.
I make poor life choices. I didn't even think that through. Okay, it seemed like a good idea. Then I realized, oh wait, it's an ABC.
Yeah, I feel great.
Good going, me.
So I always laugh because they look like the Mizar crates from Jet Force Gemini. That's what I always like to see when I see the supply crates. But
Engaging.
there's 3 of them, and if you see the little yellow box in the screen, that'll tell you
There
there
you
is
are.
a box on that little mini map. So since the PSP didn't have as much power as the original game, they had to really shrink the maps down and they connected them to command points. So if you capture a command point, it would correlate with one another map, and you could send a unit over to that one.
God, we thankfully got an
That was
okay
a pretty
spawn.
decent pattern, it looked like.
We didn't get the one on the cliff because I would have to go around, grenade a branch, climb up a ladder, and hope I have enough AP to get there. So could have been worse.
To begin, here is today's news.
Thankfully, there are only 4 of these missions in the entire category, I guess.
Ah, on.
Yeah, the
How
2
can I
worst
help you
missions
today?
are generally the escort APC missions, like the one mission I never could figure out how to do consistently until Devin came along was Beyond the Faulty Gates, which is a escort APC mission, and the find crate missions, just because the crates are it's so hard to optimize and find a good pattern or general way of acting to find all of the crates quickly.
God, Beyond the Floodgate, that's the game, that mission still gives me nightmares. I mean, it's really the game's out for your blood, and it's just unfair, and actually,
Okay,
I A
let's
ranked,
go.
managed to A rank everything
I
on my
see
first
one.
time through, except for that
I see
mission that
one.
pissed me off enough. But here,
Yeah, I feel great.
we have to kill an enemy commander, and I use a visual cue here. I look at a certain brick, make this guy stand up, and I'm gonna turn him around, and hopefully I could one-shot him. It is not certain because, so most areas have like a condition, so here's the fog. Makes my guns a lot less accurate, and
I feel amazing.
see what happens.
If you have like the default turret on
You're
the
through!
fog, it's pretty hilarious because you actually can't see all of the border for the actual gun.
Oh, that was so
Enemies.
lucky. I've not gotten that in a while. Oh
You
man.
see how the reticle, again, it's basically your bullets are equally likely to go anywhere inside that circle. In order to get that quick kill, you have to get a certain number of them to hit on the enemy's head, specifically.
Yeah. Also, Yvonne almost died. Whatever. That would have been awkward.
Something that's really hard to note is these games are actually known for being incredibly difficult video games.
Oh god, yeah.
To begin, here is today's
Again,
news.
We're making it look easy because we're kind of blowing by and abusing a lot of some of the more interesting balance choices that they made, specifically how much you can do
Hey,
with
Yvonne.
scouts and fast
What brings
units.
you here?
If you're doing these casually, you're basically killing every unit because you don't know what you can run past. Enemies will kill you very quickly. These are very difficult units casually. The fact that Devin knows where every enemy is, how much health each unit has, when it's safe to run, when it's safe, when he has to actually kill a unit. All of this is stuff that really you only build up with time and a lot of work.
Yeah, like how I started this game, I was doing an internship in the middle of nowhere in Montana, and internet was non-existent, so I had this game on emulator. I had a controller, and I spent an entire month just working on this game, and that was kind of the basic route. God. And then I just kind of went from there. And I could just practice on the go, and let's see what we got here. Oh, okay, we are so good right now.
Alright, so right here we're doing those class changes. So we're going to get Yvonne into a Scout Veteran, Zeri is going to become a Trooper Veteran. These are really good for us. We want those guys to get...
Ah, Yvonne.
They get
How
extra
can I
health,
help you today?
extra movement, extra defense. Yvonne gets access to Ragnate, I believe, which is huge because if you need to in emergency, you can heal 50 damage off. It also makes stutter stepping faster, which we'll get to the first time he uses it. It's a big deal to get those, and it's not guaranteed at all.
Nope. And, like, for a marathon run, I would have just had a repeat a mission, or... I carefully prepared this marathon save to have all my bases covered. There are 3 ways a run can just die early on. First is turret, next is not having enough materials, which is rare,
Okay,
then
let's
not
go.
having my units upgrade in time, because I need the extra defense, I need the Ragnade,
Enemy spotted.
I need to go further. So,
see
like,
one.
if...
And the problem with not getting those upgrades early is you can't
Enemy
get them at all.
spotted.
So
A crisis is a turning point. Right,
to
Joe?
class is you can only get them in a certain set of missions in like March, April, and May. And if you don't get them early enough, you just will never get them, and you'll never actually level them up.
Okay, let's go.
What he's doing right here is kind of a funny
A
little thing.
crisis is a turning point. Right, bro?
Needs to knock them out of bases. And if they're not in the base, you can capture them. So even though he's literally only a couple feet from where he was, the base is no longer considered occupied,
Watch and
which
learn.
allows him to take it. Now,
I see you
grenade
there.
physics in this game are
I see you there.
where
Nothing to get riled
the
about.
processing power isn't great. It'll kind of send them at weird angles. Unlike the original game, enemies can't go over sandbags, and a bunch of other weird looking monsters like that. So sometimes they'll be kind of finicky and they won't work
Enemy
properly,
silent.
but for the most part, they're really consistent. It's always fun
Moving
to
out.
capture a base while there's 3 enemies sitting right
Nothing to get
outside.
riled about. You're through.
I hope... Holy crap, all my shots hit, but... sandbags are random, how many enemies, so
Enemy
sometimes I
silent.
can launch 2 at once, but... this is completely average, and we got our toughest mission of the early game, or the first half. Darks and Liberation, here we go. God.
Right. So this is, I believe, a capture 3 bases mission, if I remember correctly.
Yep. Plus a nasty
And-
twist.
Yeah, a lot of these are very difficult to capture.
To
I remember my
begin,
original route for
here is
this
today's
was
news.
absolutely terrifying. If 1 or 2 things went wrong, or if I did something out of order, the route just no longer worked, and I would die. There was no 2 ways about it. I had to 1 turn or very quickly clear it at the end of the 2nd turn. Otherwise, there was no chance at it. So something that's always interesting about this game, something I think is fascinating about it, is EXP is based off of the number of turns you actually use. So while we're using speedrun strats for avoiding killing enemies, so on and so forth, we're actually getting about the max amount of experience you could get in the game to this point without doing extra missions or anything like that. We don't use it very much at all, but it's always something that I thought was really, really fun about this game, was it kind of rewarded you for using as few turns as possible, even casual.
Alright. So, kind of the thing I kind of worked out, we're going to be doing some serious RNG manipulation
Right,
here.
let's
So,
get
we're going to
her done.
manipulate the enemy by doing some specific setup for the first turn. Everything's going to happen for a reason. Also, if once you get good enough, you can just drive the tank in reverse like it's no problem. Also,
We're back. What we did there is we put up instead of a ladder, we put them up there so they could actually see. Also, that accuracy though.
Enemy silent!
yeah.
Big sister.
Yep, big sister.
Engaging.
Yeah. So with one of Lavinia's other potentials, along with Bloodthirst, she has big sister where if she's near other units,
Moving out.
she'll sometimes get a random big boost in accuracy.
But yeah, so I need to get rid of that
Enemy
sniper.
neutralized.
I'm just gonna
Enemy
leave him
sighted.
there. Don't worry, it's gonna be fine. And this is where Silvaria really comes in handy because snow condition means we cannot recover health after each turn like we normally would. Also, I have guys shooting
I
at the
invite
back,
you to
and
try.
I am.
Yeah, so you have different areas of armor, and in general, you take much more damage from behind.
Yeah. Oh God, here we go. We're gonna do
Enemy
so.
neutralized.
I think you used to. I think you run past the turret and capture the camp. I'm gonna do that, by the way.
Fall back!
Yep, that was the old strat.
Yeah. So I kind of.
That-
Sorry.
Okay, let's
Yeah,
go.
that was basically my original route as well, I believe, so far. I might have, no, I killed the turret in front as well, though. So I used a separate unit for this, but I did kill
A crisis is a turning point.
Gatling turrets.
Right, bro?
Yeah.
Not as bad as Pins, but like, they do tons of anti-personnel damage, and you really can't kill them from the front.
All right.
So on the back, there's just a person behind like a little cloth. So they're really squishy from behind. You can kill them with an anti-personnel unit as opposed to an anti-vehicle unit like a Lancer. But
I smell a
getting
big
to that
story.
position is very difficult because they turn very quickly.
Yeah. So I do not want to destroy that turret because that's always
I'm on
going to
the
summon
move.
Baldr into the area
This is
after
my
much
turn.
testing. And
Annoying and hyperactive
Yeah, so
little.
my original strat used to be just deal with it and let
Sure,
Baldr come to
dude.
this area and hope he doesn't retake the base.
a new turret. Come on. All right. So I need to turn that around. Otherwise, I am going to have a bad time.
On it.
Alright. So it's kind of finicky, but you can totally get away with just having the turret turn your way, but no, it's inconsistent. Also, so Baldrin, he's nasty. He can revive units, though. I'm gonna use that to my advantage to make him waste CP. I am gonna lure Shock Trooper out of the camp on the top right. Baldrin is always gonna stop right in front of my home camp, but not attack Zeri. And assuming I do things the same way every single time, I'm going to get the same results.
So Baldrin is the enemy's attacking unit, and he's
I'm on
probably
the
the most
move.
dangerous enemy in the game.
Stay down!
He has,
Outside of maybe Dark.
yeah,
But
Is that all?
basically, he does tons of damage, he dodges all of your attacks, and he will basically kill you if he wants to.
We might actually be able to win this!
Frankazi.
Make your peace.
So right there, he's taking this base so we can deploy another unit out of it to take over the inside of the next base.
I've spotted one.
This is actually one of the cooler maps.
Here
I actually really
goes.
like the design of it.
That's interesting, I guess. You know what?
I've never seen a grenade knock
Commencing strike.
backwards like that. Usually what he was hoping to happen was he knocked it sideways out of the base.
Here goes.
Should be able to get a double kill because they're both
God.
scouts. Well,
Are you
Whatever.
proud
I
of
can
yourself?
still manage. Not a big deal.
Make your
Bill
peace.
and Frank is too accurate.
Okay.
Learn some respect.
Oh god, here we go. This is gonna be interesting.
Are you proud of yourself?
This is gonna be incredibly tight, by the way. This
This
is...
is a good time to mention the penalty for death is actually not that punishing. You just get kicked back to the menu, you don't have a straight game over screen.
Right. Let's get her done.
Yeah, like, things can go wrong, you just have to roll the punches.
Spotted. Go down.
Alright, I'm kinda hoping I get bloodthirsty, but if not...
Enemy silent.
Alright,
Impressive work.
let me think here. You know what, I'm just gonna play it super safe. I'm just gonna use Zeri. Okay.
Watch and learn.
This is nerve-wracking, by the way.
Nothing to get wild about.
Of note, I don't believe that the normal turret
Enemy
actually
sighted!
one-shot a Gatling turret from the front in one shot. So that's
Watch and
something
learn.
that's unique to
Nothing to get wild
specific
about.
enemy turret that we stole in that mission. The one that we had to reset to get a second stall.
You're through!
Yeah. And, like...
Enemy
the
silent!
grenade damage is pretty random, it just screwed me over, but thankfully... I played it kind of safe and we got it through. That's the important part.
Yeah, grenades, again, because of the lower processing power, are much less consistent in how they behave compared to the original game. The original game is a lot of funny strats. You'll throw a grenade, it'll explode, leave the sandbag, knock enemies over the sandbag. Really, really funny ragdoll animation. You don't get that in this game, because if they hit a sandbag, they just fall in place.
To begin,
You don't
I
know
have a
what
new
to do.
award to pass on to
Yep.
all of you.
It's
It's
14.
not uncommon at all. In fact, back when I was running this game, the most common reset was Mission 2. It's a really, really finicky grenade throw.
Yeah, and then I found a way to make it consistent. Just run up behind a sandbag, just aim as far. And really the scary part is just getting to the camp and not
Avon.
getting
How
shot to
can I
death.
help you today?
Alright.
But we get to literally chill with this mission because it's the defend mission. Ha ha, I know, it's 4:30 a.m. in the morning here.
Yeah, this is the. I believe this is a defense mission you don't even have to kill a unit for. You back your butt up into the base and then laugh.
You don't even have to back your butt up.
Oh, you don't?
No, you just put your tank there and it's technically within the camp.
Alright, that works for me.
Yeah, so like,
I'm rolling out.
still technically within the camp, though the time waster is if a tank shows up, I'm probably just gonna destroy it, just save a few seconds. But hopefully, it doesn't show up.
Alright.
Hey. I guess, do you want to kind of talk about the story of the game? I know the story wasn't strong compared to the other two, but I don't know.
Right, so the story for this game is that this is after the original game. Gallia won their part of, or won the war, and however, there were a couple of things that were big that happened in the original game, and kind of as a fallout of that, it became split into two major factions. Kind of the elitists and kind of the people that were loyal to the old crown. And so, in the middle of all of this, Avon, who's the main character, he's also probably the other most important unit in the speedrun. His brother disappears, even though he's probably the best, or like the most prestigious student at this military school, which is kind of like West Point for Gallia. And so he's going to go to the academy himself. He's going to find out what happened to his brother. Is the basic plot line. And while he's there, this big civil war breaks out because Gallia can't call militia unless there's an actual war declared, and this is a civil war. The academy and the official military has to kind of clear out and make sure that all of the big conflicts don't end up harming
To
people.
begin, here is today's
Nothing
news.
too bad happens out of it. It's pretty well done. A lot of the characters, the main characters, are actually pretty well written, I think.
Avon. How can I help you today?
But I didn't go into retrieving the goods. That's a big mistake. But yeah, so like, they're like this house of nobility called the Garcinarls, and they're kind of, it's a bit of a power struggle, and they kind of try to come up with an excuse to take over.
Right. So the universe is kind of a fictionalized version of Europe around World War II originally. You have the Darkson, which are basically, this race that people kind of discriminate against. They're known for having dark hair, they don't have last names, and they're known for being generally pretty good at mechanical things.
Yeah.
And you find out at the end of Valkyria Chronicles 1 that, spoiler, the ruling
Okay,
house,
listen close.
Gallia,
Hold
is
fast.
actually
Hunker
Darkson,
down and defend.
descended from Valkyria, which is what they've led the world to believe.
Yeah. Also, the whole thing about the Darkson Calamity.
On my way.
There's that whole.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean
I
that's
see someone.
the
Enemy
reason why they're
sighted.
discriminated against, but
Yeah. So like, these people just came into Europa. They conquered Darksons and rewrote history to make them look like saviors.
yeah, to make the Darksons look like the bad guys. Basically, it's she's a Nazi. Is kind of the general story.
Yeah.
But it's interesting what they managed to
Okay,
do with
let's
the
go.
concept. It's a different way of kind of exploring that.
Exactly.
Kind of
I see one.
Yeah.
The stories are actually they're pretty well done. for
I'm
the
just
most
getting
part.
started.
Yeah, and like, I know like with the second game, so like, people were really supportive of like, I'm probably gonna, whatever.
Okay,
I'm still on
let's
track
go.
here, but anyway. This, again, this one,
There's
yeah.
some bad luck
Alright.
basically right there. Again, since the bullets can go anywhere, it can do a certain number of headshots, and then miss and not get them. It's, I believe, 3 or 4 headshots to kill a shock trooper at this point. As the game goes on, enemy units get more and more health.
Watch and learn.
So
Yeah.
Remember, we're
I don't lose.
Yeah, but yeah, going back to the second game, so like most people were very supportive, like Cordelia revealing that she has Darkson heritage, but the nobles are very upset because they want to have power and they want to find an excuse to take over the country and the throne.
Enemy silent.
So they decide, oh hey, we're gonna make Gallia great again by taking
Moving
over
out.
the capital and trying to purge Gallia of all the Darksons. And that's a really bad thing,
Yes.
and especially in a war-torn country like Gallia that's already rebuilding, it's really up to a bunch of school cadets to just save the day, because they're like the
Right.
last line of defense here.
It's generally the lesser regarded of the Valkyria Chronicles stories for kind of a good reason. Like, the school setting is a bit more cliche. The original game just did this very cool pseudo World War II history very,
To
very
begin,
well.
here
The
is
third game
today's
kind
news.
of returns and tells a side story from the original game. This one, they wanted to do a direct sequel, and they really,
Ah, Avant.
the direction they
How can
went
I
is
help
one
you
that
today?
ended up with a lot more anime cliches than the original. So it's a slightly weaker story, but it is still very well told, and it's definitely a fun game.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like for what it is, they handled it really well, and it could have been like the story and everything could have been done a lot worse. So I always like to put that in perspective.
Hmm.
Yeah, so this is one mission where we really want to have Yvonne be a scout veteran. It saves like 1 CP, so
Okay.
every time we
let's
start an
go.
action like this, that's 2 seconds. Every time we end one, that is another 2 seconds.
I see one.
CP usage is critical.
I see one. I see one.
Just gonna launch this guy out,
Ah!
and yeah, a lot of these missions just go by really quickly. So most missions take under 10 minutes, and there's only one mission that, according to my splits, is like somewhere above 10 minutes. It's only one.
Commencing strike.
But yeah, like compared to like the large-scale battles of like the first game, it's just these really fast-paced skirmishes that you could just
Think about
do
it.
really quickly, kind of lending itself to like the handheld format of this game and the third one.
Yeah, the concept
Let's
was
get
kind of
started.
more like, play it, do one mission, which would take you
Enemy spotted.
20 to 30 minutes while you're on the
Vanguard
train.
has made contact.
Again, these,
Sending
in
support.
general, these are probably made for the Japanese market, where handhelds are much more important, and being able to play a game on a train,
Okay,
put
my
it down,
turn.
play it on the train on the way back is a big deal.
Yeah. Like, I know.
I was gonna say, see, it's
Alright.
kind of a difference in market, and it ends up kind of making it less suited for the Western market, since, we want bigger,
Moving out.
better, more action. You can't really do it out in the handheld, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Kill everything that gets close.
I just know, like, personally, my experience the first game, like, I could only, like, do 1 or 2
Moving out.
missions at a time because they were a handful.
Enemy
They
sighted. I don't
just
lose.
took a lot out of me, and, like, I know, like, I could just play this on the go. Like, I'd play this when I had downtime at, like, an older job, and, like, oh, hey, this is this mission I could do. I could do another one,
Enemy
and,
silent.
kind of build
So,
some.
to kind of have a bit of reference, I suppose, the original game had about 20, 22 missions, and
Yeah.
the speedrun of that game is, I believe, an hour and a half long.
Speedrun is, like, just under 2 hours on the
Oh, just
PC
under 2?
version.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, for
Oh,
the
okay.
yeah.
I'm getting it mixed up because the PS3 version was like 2.5.
Yeah, that
Okay.
was done by
So,
yeah.
To begin, here
and
is
then
today's
you have
news.
Valkyria Chronicles 2, which is almost 3 times the number of missions in about double the time frame.
Yeah.
So, a lot more missions, a lot of them are a lot shorter, is kind of the general concept.
We have an initial route done for VC3, and that's one that is going to be really interesting. It is the most balanced. It's generally a lot more difficult. There are a lot more kill all enemy missions, and Infinite Shelter and I are deciding that we want to run this on easy just because it makes for a better watch, and normal mode is brutal for a speed run.
Moving out.
Right.
Yeah.
I see one.
Do you know the difference between normal and easy? I never actually messed with easy to see what the difference is.
It's just
I see
damage.
one.
Here, like,
I see
easy
one.
mode and VC2, not gonna lie, is a total joke, but, with the way they did things in the third game,
Moving out.
oh god. Like, you really have to watch what you're doing. Like, the stuff I'm doing right now, I'd be so dead in the third game.
Yeah, the third game rebalanced a lot, which is good. This actually is, I consider, a much more balanced game than even the original, but
Yeah.
the third game takes it to
Okay,
a whole new
let's
level,
go.
and it is hard.
Oh god, yeah. It, like... Thankfully, they give you the option to change the difficulty in the middle, because don't feel bad if you have to do that for the third game. But that grenade launch I was trying to do is pretty dumb and difficult, and the game expects you to go around and like shoot things, but I have better ideas.
I see you there.
Alright, let's see what we can do here. Wait for it.
Go down.
That was the enemy commander unit, by the way. It's gone.
Down you go.
That's something that the better turret makes possible. That's not possible with the normal turret, and so I used to have to like drive the tank all the way around, which took a lot longer. That's where you start to see the time save come in, beyond just not missing shots. Is it actually makes a lot of strats possible that you can do with the default turret,
Yeah.
which is why it's worth the extra minute to try to get.
To begin, here is today's news.
It is the reason I shaved off like 2 hours off your old time.
There's
Hey,
another
Yvonne.
big.
What brings you here?
But yeah, we'll get into that soon enough. Alright, so, oh god. So I feel like it played safe. There's like an experimental new strat I could do, but for sake of the marathon, I'm just gonna stick to the old one. So this is, you know what, for all intent and purposes, we're still gonna use defense coding. So you take 2 materials, and you can like temporarily increase a stat for one of your units for like 1 battle. It goes away after each mission, whether you complete or fail it, doesn't matter. But it's like 10 or 12 seconds of extra menuing, so I try to do it only when I really have to. And it's kind of a feature that was kind of forgotten by most players and was only seen in the second game.
My route never used it.
Yeah.
But basically, it allows you to get kind of just extra stat boosts here and there. So it's a big deal on a couple missions where you need better defenses, or you just need to slightly kill that from the look of that one after that.
Yeah. Oh, we are going to definitely use that for an October mission. It makes a huge difference. But yeah, I'm going to do
I've
one more
been
check here.
waiting.
Alright. Oh!
For the most part, if you're there doing R&D anyway, it really doesn't take that long to do.
Exactly. And like, we're gonna see other uses
Yvonne,
elsewhere
How can I
because
help you today?
Escort to the Ruins, we got escort mission 2 out of 4 for this run.
Yeah. So again, escort missions, the biggest problem with them is you lose your tank, which is the best unit in the game, and you replace it with a unit that's biggest strength is just nothing. It's awful. It can't kill tanks. It can't move quickly because it takes 2 CP to move. It has terrible defense and only 900 health.
Yeah.
So for these missions, it's a lot more important to have all of your other units be much more powerful. That way you can get this terrible unit from one end of the map to the other without access to
Okay,
the
my
best unit in
turn.
the game.
This thing is a piece of junk. It has like
Also note we're in the desert. It does reduce your mobility by a little bit.
yeah. Fun fact, this is like the only map that has no plot relevance. It's just, oh, we gotta have a desert place because we did it in the first game.
A lot of the maps end up starting out being used in story missions and then
Coming at you.
just kind of used elsewhere.
Also, nice double kill. I did the setup
Enemy
really well.
down.
So, I hope that sniper doesn't shoot me too hard. But, so, like, CP
Right,
management
let's get her
in
done.
these missions is super tight. So, if you mess up, you have a lot of improvising you have to do.
Again, since that's the escort APC takes 2 CP to move, you really run low on CP.
Moving out.
So you see right there, we took the base, which linked it over to the next part of the map.
I don't
And then I
lose.
believe we're gonna take this next base.
Yeah. So, that Gatling bunker, hard hits
Enemy
hard.
silent.
And that's why I use defense coding, because it
Watch and
guarantees
learn.
I will
I
most
feel
likely
amazing.
survive, and advanced attack's pretty good. I'm not going to capture the camp yet. It's going to save that for our next turn, but I do want to hide him. And since I have enough CP from doing things well enough and being a little bit lucky, I can move this a bit further. But
You can see the little yellow lines. Those are sight lines. It tells you if the enemy can see you or not.
yeah. What else? Oh yeah, so this game doesn't... this was originally built for the PlayStation Portable, so only one stick or an analog nub. So the way you move the camera, left to right is L and R, or triangle and X are up and down. And since I want to go fast, I try to move without using the camera as much as possible. Especially for vehicles, I always like to think that I can save a little bit of
Moving out.
movement just by going
I don't
cameraless,
lose.
so to speak.
The tank is kind of weird because even turning will actually cost you that movement gauge at the bottom of the screen that tells you how far you
Let's
can move.
get her done.
You'll see even when he just doesn't turn how thanks to the gauge slowly goes down.
I am so glad I'm playing on a PS4 controller.
Let's get
God,
her
doing this
done.
on the nub was a pain. Yeah, I used to play this game on PlayStation Portable, on composite cables on a CRT, and God, I could barely see anything. It made some parts of the run very scary. But really, I just switched to PSTV because it was just a lot more convenient, and well, it's easier to see things. Also, I haven't tested whether or how fast loading times are, but I like to think that they're faster. Who knows?
It could go either way.
Let's
Without
get her
testing,
done.
you really wouldn't know.
Yeah. And out of habit, I just have installed data on.
I'll do that for other
They got my leg!
even if it's a digital copy.
Right. Let's get her done.
I don't know if it does much, but if it does something.
Yeah, because never play this on UMD if possible. UMD is the worst format ever to exist.
I'm rolling out.
God, I hate
My favorite was when they hit the setting for that. So
I'm rolling
when I
out.
played Persona 3 Portable the first time, you could install the game. Great. The problem is you have to trigger a setting in the game that tells it that you installed it. So I played like half of that game with the game installed and not telling it. So it was playing everything off the UMD.
Oh God, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, so the PSP hardware was very, very high tech, but unfortunately wasn't very well suited for its purpose since
To
load
begin,
speeds off of
here is
off
today's
of a
news.
DVD, which is a spinning disc media, don't really line up with low portable hardware and
Ah, Avant.
the console.
How can I help you today?
So we got our defend mission, and this will introduce artillery. It's really slow because wherever you have units in an area, the game will just aim, and then it has to fire, and other fun stuff. It really slows down the game, and there's nothing I can do to speed it up. God. Let's see here. But we do have to take some steps here. We do need to get rid of that tank. It's either a tank or an APC. Either way, it needs to be blown up. Let's see here.
I'm rolling
I'm
out.
also hoping that there are no snipers out there and mortarers. These are guys that have like explosive rounds that can knock people around.
Cute. I can
They're
take
bad
you
news.
all.
I do also
Okay,
want to check
let's
the grass
go.
though, so let's see
I
here.
see one.
Okay, there's...
Brace
That's
yourself,
bloodthirsty, by the way.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And you know what? I feel like I should probably destroy this
Right. Let's get
enemy.
her done.
It's a leader, so enemy leaders just have like 1 extra CP. If you can just reduce how many actions they can do, it does save a little bit of time. I use armor techs. These are like your defensive units. God, they're kind of a weird unit.
Right. I'll go through all the classes since we have some time during the defend mission. So you have scouts, which again, high mobility, low damage is the general concept. We can get around the low damage using headshots and grenades, which makes them in general kind of the best all-purpose unit in the game. For a speedrun anyways. Then you have shot troopers, which are basically the best anti-personnel units in the game. So high damage machine gun, they have a grenade of their own, but they have lower movement because they're carrying around more equipment. Then you have your engineers, which are your
I'm on the
tank
move.
supports, essentially. They have a pistol with 6 shots that actually does more anti-personnel damage than the scout.
Stay down!
The downside is that they carry a wrench and ragnade instead of
What,
a grenade,
done
so they
already?
can't really deal with crouching.
Who are these guys?
You have a Lancer, which is an anti-vehicle unit. They carry a rocket launcher with 3 shots that can kill a tank in about, 4 hits from the front and 1 or 2 from behind.
I think so.
At the end.
Yeah.
And then you have armor techs, which are introduced in this game. They replaced snipers, which were moved to an advanced class on scout. And what they are these units that carry a giant club or sword and a shield, and they're basically defensive anti-something, depending on what you level them up into. And the idea is that whenever they stop moving, they crouch down behind the shield and they can act like they're crouching even if there's not a sandbag. They're also just a pain to deal with because you have to kind of go around and attack with damage because their shields block bullets. The downside with them is they're melee units. They have to run right up, they have terrible movement and mobility. They're kind of like Juggernaut sometimes, though. It's really funny when the enemy uses them because they'll just like run at you and you'll be shooting at them with like 3 people with machine guns, and every shot will hit the shield and you'll do no damage to them at all.
Yeah. The only exception in casual play and elsewhere, gunners can just shoot through the shields, and the shields have a good enough hitbox. You can just do it and kill them one swipe. Also, this game is being very nice to me. Scouts realize, oh, okay, we can't really damage armor tech, so we're just gonna stand there and do nothing. Also, they're not getting killed by their own artillery. That is very good because otherwise they would have to spend time to call reinforcements. So I am actually getting really good luck on this mission. The enemy is not the brightest. They could try to start a civil war, but they're not the brightest bunch.
Yeah, so armor techs in this game, we use them mostly for defend missions just because they have very high defense, and having a giant shield in front means that in order to really do damage, the enemy has to be smart enough to run behind them. So it's pretty cool. The game actually is pretty interestingly designed in that you kind of have these checks and balances in the system where everything seems to have kind of a pretty important purpose. Probably the quote-unquote worst unit type in the game is either an engineer or an armor tech, depending on what you use them for. But
To
there's still
begin,
use cases
here
where
is
they're very
today's
important.
news.
So you usually want 1 or 2 engineers that you like.
Avon,
That way,
how can I help
tank
you
takes
today?
a little bit of damage. If you want to rebuild a sandbag, or if you need to heal somebody, they're pretty important for that. And then armor techs, like we said, are really pretty solid defensively. And if there are a lot of shock troopers around, they are actually one of very few units that are capable of running into a group of shock troopers and killing them.
I'm gonna go for the dumb strat here. I hope it works, but if there's a shock trooper in my way, I'm probably dead. We used to, the safe way, we turn turret the other way, but I feel like going fast, so we're just gonna run past it. Hopefully I
Okay,
survive,
let's go.
but I can't guarantee anything.
Enemy spotted.
Okay, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh, ow, oh,
I
I
see
was, shit, man.
Coming
That
at you.
was dumb luck, by the way, but I'm all about YOLO and just...
All right.
I am very reckless when I speedrun this game, as you probably noticed by
it's
now.
my turn.
The thing about Avon that's interesting and why he's so good,
Coming at
he's
ya.
again the main protagonist of the game. The thing that's interesting about him is he's the only character that can be any class in the game. He can be Shock Trooper, he can be Lancer, he can be literally any class in the game. Now what they didn't do is they didn't really move his HP around much to match that. So what he ends up
Right, let's
being
get her
is
done.
he is a scout that has almost
see
Shock
you
Trooper
there.
helmet, which is a big deal because those extra 100, to 80 hit points are so important.
Target neutralized. Continue at this pace.
I am so glad I got good luck on this mission. It's like, really like the way I would think of things. What's the dumbest thing I can do possible? If it's a dumb enough strat, I go with it within reason, but we got our story missions. So, yeah, the rebels are marching in, and stuff's gonna happen. We're gonna try to free
To
some
begin,
towns.
here is today's news.
And this we got 2 story missions actually. This one can be a little bit scary, but this is one of the best examples of why we still use defense boost in this game. And a kind of a great metaphor for how this game breaks as a speed run. I'm losing my words, so you wanna talk about this mission, I guess?
Which one is this?
Oh, oh yeah, Road to the Armory.
Oh. Yeah, so the goal of this
Okay,
mission is
listen
get
close.
from point A to
Hold
point
fast.
C.
Hunker
You
down
want to
and
get
defend.
one unit into where that yellow dot is. And you're supposed to kind of
Okay,
go in a big
let's
old
go.
or loop. To go around.
I see one.
And what we do
Enemy
instead
spotted.
is we run through the minefield and everything with the defense boost, and we're done.
Alright.
Voila, we have now completed 3 story.
I can make the volume even lower for the game.
Okay.
So really, really funny stuff. Because yeah, you're supposed to kind of go all the way around because the mines and the tank and the
Hardens.
turret are all supposed to make it where you can't go in from the front, but we don't really care about that. So all you do is
To
you
begin,
defense boost
here is today's
on
news.
that map, and then you send the unit in and hope they don't die.
Ah,
The only thing you really need to watch
can
out
I
for
help
is
you
there are
today?
some mines that if you step on will probably kill you.
Yeah. Hopefully everyone's been able to hear Ghoul. I know there's been a little bit of problems with, like, just getting the audio balance right. Apologies about that. Yeah, I am trying to do the best I can here.
It's also tricky going from a PC game to a game on a different console.
Yeah, and I'm not used to OBS Studio. Alright, so this mission has gone through a lot of changes.
Hold fast.
It's kind of interesting. It's just kind of an evolution of things, but I kind of realized I could just use defense boost. I can retreat,
I invite
and
you to try.
Sylvaria makes this part a lot less painful, so
There you are.
we're just gonna capture a camp, and we get to skip most of what's supposed to happen in the next area.
Die!
Yeah. Also, I successfully launched him, and we have just enough to capture this camp, so we have Audrey's tank, so Baldrin's sister, and kind of one of the main commanders. So we're gonna go run through some dangerous Kool-Aid, run past the tank, launch a guy, and we skip so much of this mission. Oh, right, there's also a turret and a bunker. I forgot about those. I forgot what
This
it's...
is Colette's story mission, so it's kind of one of the nice things about this game is it kind of goes through little arcs for each little character. And this mission kind of teaches you about Colette's goals. This is Colette's hometown. You learn a little bit more about her. She's actually a pretty well-done character, I think. But
Yeah. Also, the dumbest scene will happen that we skip, so we find out that Cosette is colorblind and she has trauma from seeing blood because her parents got killed in front of her. So, there are a bunch of injured people. And Yvonne, well, being the smart person he is, he puts his faith in Cosette by shooting himself, forcing Cosette to heal him so she can heal everyone else. He ends up in the hospital, and Vaughn actually disobeyed, like, orders to not go into the city. So he
yeah,
almost...
he gets put in solitary,
Oh,
gets in
Yvonne.
trouble.
How can I
Yeah,
help you today?
It's very anime. It's a video game.
It is, but it's still, like, God, that is still a very dumb moment.
Yeah. So the progression of this game is you basically are here for a year. So you have 1 year's worth of missions. Each one, every month has a story mission at the end, and about 3 or 4 non-story missions that you have to do to unlock the story mission. So since we're in July, we're at about the halfway point in story missions, but we're not quite halfway done time-wise because the later missions are substantially longer than some of the missions in January and February.
Exactly. Alright, so I guess here, let's see what kind of luck we got here. Alright, so we
So
got
this
some.
is another find the crates mission. So again, if you look on the area maps, you can see the little yellow crate icon that will tell you, okay, there is a crate you want to find on this map somewhere.
Yep. Oh,
Entry combat.
alright. Yeah, I don't really know which is faster or not. It's really hard to tell, but this is, I believe, like. Which one is it up? Like 2 out of 4? But yeah.
Engaging.
So I think there are 4. I forgot, but July has 4 regular missions we do in a story mission, but it's still relatively easy here. Also, the game was nice and it didn't put a V2 right in my face.
I don't lose.
Alright, let's see what else we get. Alright, so let's see what we get in this area.
I'm on the move.
Alright. Thankfully, the crates are all mostly close by.
Pay close attention to the
Okay, this should be the last one. Yep, easy every time. Most of the time, like 90% of the time. But that's close enough. Alright, 3 more to go for this month. Alright, we have a defend mission, and this one used to give me trouble, but I've since optimized the heck out of it. Trying to
Yeah,
think.
so we're finally at the point, I believe, where you have defend missions where you have 2 bases. So we can't do the thing where we just park the tank and laugh at the
To
enemy. We do have
begin,
to actually kind of.
Here's today's
We can
news.
still park the tank in one of the bases, but we do have to defend the
Avon.
other one properly.
How can I help you today?
It's still usually faster to kind of just keep putting units in and prevent them from just kill them with a bunch of shock troopers or something else. But you still do need to kind of babysit and make sure that someone doesn't die or that something doesn't happen like while you're not paying attention, since we're skipping enemy turns.
Yeah.
It's that the skipping enemy turns actually does work out pretty well for this game, as compared to something like a Fire Emblem where all of a sudden the best things are when you can make the enemy's turn happen. Since there's such a huge power boost in this game on your turn, since you can move your units, you can move your units multiple times, and you can rush past a lot of areas, it's very rare that it actually becomes the optimal thing to just kind of pass turns with a black screen. Definitely one of the bigger pluses.
Hostile spotted.
So there are like different kinds of enemies we have to kill. So supply vehicle, B2, we're just gonna kill it, but Lancers are
Right,
bad
let's
news.
Get her done.
And we're
Right.
just
I was gonna say, so killing the supply vehicle, you'll see how now this V2 is kind of like crouched over and really tired.
Enemy
If you
silence.
don't kill the
I'm rolling out.
supply vehicle, he will always be standing upright with a giant shield, and you can't actually get headshot damage on him until you kill him, or kill the supply vehicle in the area.
Enemy silence.
Yeah. They also have stronger attack
You're
power.
gonna actually spawn a second supply vehicle somewhere, but
I'm
I think
rolling
that's
out.
another mission. But
yeah, I'm saying some of the other missions it'll do that, so you kind of keep an eye on it every now and then, but
first dodge of the run had to happen sometime.
Right. Let's get
so you
her
see right
done.
there, that's the dodge. They'll just kind of crouch. And the bullet will miss, and even if it did hit, it wouldn't have killed
Down
because
you go.
when they do that crouch, the damage is reduced. Even more so, I believe, than if they're crouching behind the sandbag. So, yeah, right there, we killed all the Lancers. The one downside of the tank that we're using, again, it's a light tank, so it only takes 1 CP to move, which is a huge deal because the damage from that turret is so huge and the movement's very good on it. But it does mean that it dies very easily, so 1 or 2 shots from a Lancer will actually kill your tank.
Yeah. I calculated out for this mission, even with the V2 powered up, being able to actually scratch my tank, it should be relatively fine. I just hope that there's no more Lancers in this area. Because, these guys, my armor techs, they are literal walls. The scouts won't even touch them.
Yeah, that's a new change. I used to only use armor techs in a couple of defend missions. I used to use shock troopers instead because shock troopers could kill the guys trying to kill them. So you see, like right there, one of them threw a grenade and knocked him out of the base. That generally didn't happen with shock troopers, but you did have to deal with high damage stuff.
Oh, the Sona Sugoi, God, that guy's there, I need to kill him.
I'm on the move. I could
Oh, and he's
take on a whole
crouching!
army.
Wonderful! Whatever. Have to do it my way. These guys have very high defense and headshots are required, really.
I'm on the move.
I like how you turn
I
around
could
there,
take on a
'cause
whole
they'll turn
army.
towards where the explosion happens. There's one of the enemy that threw their grenades right in front of him. He says, "Oh, where did that grenade come from?"
Yeah,
What? Done already?
exactly.
Target silent.
And I think that should be it. I think this is an 8-turn mission. There's only one mission where we actually kill everyone later on, but that's mostly because small area, and the enemy will spawn reinforcements outside camps. And,
Right. So again, for this mission, if you were going for the S rank, which is the game's internal scoring system, you'd have to send your units out on every map and kill every enemy unit across all of the maps. Thankfully, since it's a defend mission, we can just hold our bases for the number of turns and finish it that way.
yeah,
So I believe it's like 3 or 4 turns you have to actually kill every enemy. So
exactly.
it's not too difficult. The biggest problem is that A, you have to actually kill everyone, which takes time because you have to go into the action menu and run through the map, but you also have to figure out where everyone is. So as opposed to looking for 3 or 4 crates like we had to in those missions, you have to actually find enemies that are crouching in grass. It's just a big mess. And so it's very rarely not going to be faster to just wait it out and let the enemies kind of run at your wall of units and not be able to kill you.
Yeah. And, yeah, so the current record for this game is 3 hours, 29 minutes, and 6 seconds held by me. The time can possibly go down to 3:25, but it's just saving like at least 2 minutes and then having really good RNG add up. I think I will get there someday, but I remember just being really excited when I broke like 330 in this game, but it just depends on how nice the game wants to be to me. The RNG, getting the weapon drops, so last time I PB'd was about 5 months ago. I just kind of needed a break because I tend to go really full on with this game, and then I will PB, and then I'll take a kind of a break to give myself time to breathe, go back, but I've just been working on other stuff, but I will PB in this game again, and we are... was that the first or second mission? Oh yeah, second mission July. Trying to think here. But yeah.
To begin, here is today's news.
Gonna get through these cutscenes, and the rest of the missions should be pretty quick. We have 2 captured camp missions.
Ah, Avant. How can I help you today?
Rebel stragglers. Oh yeah, so you really want to make sure that you're entering the right missions. If you enter the wrong one and you have to get out, it is like 10 or 15 seconds worth of like loading screens. It is embarrassing to say the least. And
Right. If you do it, all you end up doing is you hit start, you retire or forfeit. I think it's retire is what the in-game wording is, and it just boots you out with a little mini game over, and you just go back to the main menu.
yep, sounds about right.
It's not a huge deal, but it is annoying, and it's something that shouldn't be happening. So.
Engaging.
Yeah, it is very costly. Getting game overs in some later missions is very costly, and I've been known to lose a ton of time.
So, which mission is this again? This is...
Trying to remember. Rebel stragglers, so capture 2...
I'm saying, what's the objective?
Oh, just capture 2 camps.
Okay.
Engaging.
It's been a while, and there's a lot of missions in this game to remember, so...
Yeah. Usually what I like to do with my splits is that I like to have like a split icon just with the type of credit signifying what kind of mission it is. And it helps me remember things. It's kind of a nice visual aid.
Good. This will make things a bit easier.
Moving out.
But yeah, like with the desert, like fencers, snipers are totally useless, and Avant can just tank shots. And we're gonna do a double launch here. I have nice visual cues, so I can like look at ground textures or like certain parts and just, for the most part, know where to aim. So like that plank or whatever it's called, I can just throw it right here, and boom. Oh, that guy's a dick. That's never happened before, by the way. First time for
I've
everything.
seen it before.
Right, bro?
Yeah, so the problem with that is this guy is
Okay,
a mauler,
let's go.
which is an anti-personnel armor tech. This guy's anti-personnel defenses are stupidly high. So you see right there, it takes 7
A
headshots to
crisis
kill
is a
this guy.
turning point. Right, bro?
Yeah.
Moving out.
So it's not fun whenever you don't get the knock out of the base on a mauler.
I think I can still one-turn this. It's gonna be close,
Enemy
but
down. A crisis is a turning point.
it's gonna take some
Right,
dumb
bro?
luck. So I'm gonna go for what I like to call a Dawes Treasure drive-by. So I'm gonna do some pretty precise timing and hope I get it.
I'm rolling
Alright, so 1, 2.
out. I see you there.
Alright, so just aim like this. Oh,
Go down.
that was insanely tight and pretty lucky. That's stupidly difficult. But that means we can just be on our way and one-turn this still. This took me a while to develop and get good at.
Moving out.
So again, though, you see the strats that the better turret on the tank makes available.
I don't lose.
The default one and the one that I used to use on the oldest group of this game was nowhere near that accurate.
Enemy silent.
Target neutralized.
So something of note is you do have, so every tank has a certain number of equipment that you can put on it. And the turret that we use takes 2, and we have 4 slots on the tank. So we fill the other 2 with the, what's it called again? The construction arm, which allows you to build bridges and ladders. It's actually a huge deal. There's a couple other options, but none of them are really all that useful.
To begin,
And the constructor arm
here's
is useful on
today's
so many
news.
maps, while the other ones are like,
Ah,
this
come
one
on.
takes away
How
the,
can I help you
the
today?
problems with snow, and this one takes away desert issues, and so on and so forth. Or this one makes it act like it's, daytime when you're in the fog. So, like, there's these other options, but they're so map dependent, and constructor arm is good on almost every map. So that will never leave our tank.
Yeah. Alright, so we're gonna do our first blind shot in this run, and I hope I can get it. I didn't have a lot of time to practice, personal stuff going on, and I am very fortunate to be able to just be here to do this because I almost could not have been here. But
Right. Let's
uh,
get her done.
let's see. Wait for it. Wait for it. Okay, come on.
Eat this.
Oh baby, I feel good tonight. I feel real good. That was a blind shot, done right. Oh yeah. It says you memorize where enemies are and you just want to save time
Okay,
and
let's
just
go.
gotta do stuff that looks cool.
Yep, so basically the game, they're there, but it won't actually load their models until you're close enough to actually see them, and you can still shoot them, basically.
I'd expect no less.
There's a lot fewer of those in Valkyria Chronicles 2. In the original game, there's a lot of stuff where you're just shooting randomly and trying to trigger to see where the enemy is.
Enemy spotted. Healing.
Valkyria Chronicles 2 is generally more forgiving on that stuff, but
That's number 2. I'm not sure if that's happened before. If not, it's not happened in a while. So that's like half of that's never happened before, I guess.
Healing.
so again, that guy crouched, which allowed him to kind of just tank the grenade rather than knock him out of the base.
Entering combat.
Yeah. And this is still the early game. This is pretty unusual because later on their evasion gets really good and
Well, of course.
it's a thing.
So, of note is, again, if enemies can't see you, they can't evade. They rarely evade grenades. That's something you don't see very often at all. And yeah, so if they don't see you, if it's not from the front, they'll never do it. And again, if they do that, you just straight up can't kill them. And some of the boss enemies will dodge basically every shot from the front you ever throw at them.
Yeah.
To begin,
Oh, guess what? We're already
here's
at the
today's
halfway
news.
point. So, we have one of my favorite missions, Levantine Finals. So, since this is military school anime, there has to be some sort of tournament or whatever. So, we get to do mock battles, and we are Class G, we are bottom of the barrel, we are the laughing stocks, and we gotta prove that we're the coolest kids in school, so, we're gonna go take down, Juliana. She's kinda like, you wanna talk about Juliana? I don't know.
Yeah, so it's your classic Japanese anime where the school has a bunch of classes, and there's the elites, which is in this game class A, and then there's the bottom of the barrel, which is class G, and the
Let's get
G
started.
being the 7th letter of the alphabet, and Valkyria Chronicles loves the number 7. So the Leva Team tournament is kind of the in-school. They have training exercises where they'll run around and shoot each other with mock guns, and that it's kind of like the sporting event for the school. And so as you go through the game, some of the story missions are just other parts. The finals is you versus Class A. Class A is kind of they don't really sympathize with the rebel movement, but they're kind of like them in that they're kind of more prejudiced, more racist. You know, I'm better than you, so on and so forth. And Juliana is their leader, and she is a armor tech, I believe, with actually pretty darn solid stats. There's kind of this plot line where she kind of has a romance with Zeri, who's a Dark-singed shock trooper that plays a pretty big role in the story. He's the kind of the second male main character, along with Yvonne.
Yeah. Alright, so what we're gonna do, I did a kind of a dumb strat in the first one. I took advantage of the slow aiming of the tank to run around, and it one-shot from behind it. Okay, so we're just gonna run over Juliana, and hopefully we get her to spawn outside the camp. Alright. Okay, I don't think I got it. Whatever.
So the mission of this is to kill the leader.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, right?
Yeah.
So I used to just continually shoot Juliana until she stopped dodging.
Yeah, I wanted her out of the camp, so being in the camp gives her a bit of a defense boost. That is enough to keep me from one-shotting her, so I'm just going to do a little bit of swag here, run past, and be a massive jerk if you've played the game. Easy every time. But with that, we are done with the first half of the game. We're going to get our huge difficulty spike, and things are going to get a lot tougher from here. We only lost like 10 seconds, no big deal. Whatever. It's like, oh, save 2 seconds. Oh, I just lost 10 seconds, whatever. I love how I think. But, yep, we actually have to do one more scene, and we are officially done with July.
So of note, this game, the original game had permadeath. This one didn't. I'm just laughing because I remember in the original game, one of the trophies that you had to get involved, you were forced to kill off one of your units permanently.
Yeah.
And it also was the only way to unlock some of the better units in the game was they only joined once other units died.
To begin,
But this game, if no one dies in this game, they just get really big boo-boos.
Exactly, and you get this
They get sent to the hospital for like 2 missions or so.
Yeah.
And even if they get killed in a mission, if you run over to them with another unit, they won't have that effect apply, and they'll be available for use 2 turns later with full health.
Yeah. In the speedrun, we don't want that to happen. That is like the 7 seconds of shame. And it's embarrassing. I've had it happen, and I didn't like it very much. So this mission, this may look familiar. It's kind of like Rebel Stragglers, but I guess there's a tank there and a heavy gunner. Things are stronger. More people shooting at me. I don't know, but heavy gunners
These are gunners. Gunners are probably the best defensive unit in the game. They're as far as keeping units out of bases. It's kind of funny. So the idea behind them is they're an upgrade to the Shock Trooper class that does massive amounts of damage, but they attack in a sweeping movement. So instead of having the big old circle, their attack looks more like a giant horizontal cylinder. The thing is that when they're playing defense and they're doing crossfire, they don't do the sweep. They just shoot. And that means that their damage output, since it's balanced for this giant sweeping animation, is kind of ridiculous. So they're probably the strongest anti-personnel defensive units in the game. Their defense is okay, and they can do more damage than any other unit in the game. You see right there, it was like 2 bullets at Zeri, and he took like 20 damage. Most other units wouldn't do anywhere near that.
Yeah. You do not want to be shot from behind by those things. They can tear you apart.
It's kind of funny, this game actually has a versus mode, and I think if there was like a competitive meta for it, I think it would boil down to shoving a gazillion heavy gunners in your bases to prevent enemies from being able to send anti-personnel units in. You'd have like armor techs to break that by being able to run through them, and then it would be a like race to kill the other person's tank first.
Yeah. And
So
I
it's pretty much what I believe would happen if this was a competitive versus game.
also, sorry if you hear anything in the background. It's probably I have my window open for fresh air. You may or may not
To
hear a
begin,
train
I have a new award
passing by
to
in the
pass on
background.
to
I
all of you.
apologize for that. At least it is not police sirens or whatever. Just throwing it out there. But
You
anyway,
say that we're gonna have police sirens during this run, though.
come on, I'm not Rom Scout.
Ah, Avon. How can I help you today?
Right, so it's really a menace. So August, every single one of these missions has like a kind of a dumb grenade launch I have to do. Alright, so oh god. I think I did this mission differently than you did, and I think how it came about, I misread your notes. I didn't realize it until a week later, and then the route had already kind of changed, so I went with it. I don't know, that's a thing I do. So, we have to go through 3 areas. This is sort of thing we can do in one turn, but the last area can be pretty scary. But we're going to see what happens here. Yep, all aboard the VC hype train. So, alright, so
Okay,
there's a...
Let's go.
Oh yeah, one thing about bunkers, turrets, and supply vehicles, they have a nasty habit of inflicting APU subs, so
A crisis
my
is a
bar will
turning
turn
point.
purple,
Right, bro?
blue, whatever, and I won't be able to move, and that can easily screw me over.
Moving out.
I actually had it happen to me once where a stray bullet just hit me with APU sub from
Crisis
the
is a
bunker,
turning point. Right, bro?
and I had to end my turn right there. It happened in one of my PBs a long time ago. Alright, so I'm hoping I can do this. Come on, game, please be nice. Okay, because I don't have enough to actually kill him. And grenade launching is very finicky. But we can make it on our way, and, Frank is Z.
Make your peace.
Frank is Z. Frank is Z. You have to destroy a supply vehicle and just
spotted one.
capture another camp.
I've spotted one.
Took me a second to realize what you were saying.
Yeah, Frank is Z. It's just...
Make your peace.
I was like, Frank or Z? What? I don't see a dog.
No, Frank is Z. I just...
I know, I got it.
Yeah. Right.
Are you
So
proud of
let's
yourself?
see here.
Keep pushing them back.
I see one landmine. I think that will save me a few seconds. Maybe my tank will spawn a bit further.
Right. Get her done.
If there were 2 right there, I could spawn a bit further. That would save me like several seconds, but that is completely random and up to the game. But we're just gonna run this guy out. Don't worry about him. He'll be mostly alright. Alright.
You do need to be careful when you're knocking people around because they will respawn in weird places sometimes if you don't give them a place to go.
Yep, you're right. I kind of forget about these things.
Star can do.
Then again, I lose track of things, and this last part can be really scary. Let's see what happens here. I used to use defense coding, but I want to go fast, and I don't know. I'm just gonna be super dumb.
Watch and
I hope I
learn.
don't regret my decision. Alright, so stutter stepping, let's explain that, shall we?
Okay, so stutter stepping was something that Devin discovered. It kind of was a thing we'd known about where if you pulled a gun out, enemies kind of pull their gun up and start shooting at you. And then if you put your gun away, they put it, you know, like if you pull your gun up, they stop shooting and they put their gun down. And you can time
I don't lose.
button presses to where
Watch and learn.
they'll pull their guns up to shoot at you as you're running, and then you'll pull out a weapon and they'll put them back down.
I don't
Now
lose.
the problem used to be that when you pulled the gun out, it takes a lot longer to do, but Ragnade is almost
Enemy
instant. You
silence.
hold it out, hold it up to the side, and then you put it back. The animation's so fast, you can
I
actually,
feel amazing.
in that time, they'll start to put their weapons down, and then the animation is then pulling it back up. And in that time frame, you can take 2 or 3
Enemy
steps
silence.
forward,
I don't
and then pull out
lose.
another Ragnade, at which point they stop shooting and put their guns down. So it allows you to basically buffer past some of the most dangerous enemies in the game. It's most useful against shock troopers and V2s, which are the two units you really want to be able to run past the most, and you can't do without stutter stepping. So
Yeah.
it's not one of my favorite things because it kind of breaks the game in some of the harder units, but
To begin,
it is
here
very
is today's
effective and
news.
pretty cool when it's used well.
Exactly. Alright, okay.
But,
So,
yeah, my original route had
Hi,
none of it,
Avon.
and
How
it
can I
allows
help
for
you
some pretty
today?
ridiculous strats for the later part of the game.
yeah, I'm like, I don't feel like dying. Why waste the time, man? I mean, we don't start using it a lot until, like, later in the run, so, like, we're more than halfway through, and,
Yeah, that's the first time we really used it. It's like the biggest thing it helps with are those V2 units, which are, again, so risky and so dangerous to try to play around.
yeah. It,
So, and since they have they have a very long animation and wind up before they actually start firing, it gives you more time to actually handle it,
Okay, let's go.
which is the idea.
yeah.
I'll think of something. Enemy
And,
spotted.
like, yeah, you did I wasn't paying attention, but did you mention how different weapons have different aiming speeds?
Yeah, I mentioned how Ragnade is the only one it really works well on because of how fast you can pull it out and put it away,
Yeah.
compared to a rifle where
Moving
you
out.
pull,
Let
basically
me at 'em.
the animation of pulling up a rifle is the
Enemy
same as what theirs is, so you don't really get very far using a rifle, and you're gonna get shot once or twice using it. Ragnade is so fast you can basically just kind of lock them in an animation trap where they're pulling their gun up, and right as they're about to fire, they're like, "Oh, we can't shoot because he's got his gun out." Enemies don't shoot at you while you're aiming your gun.
Oh my god, I
It's
can't believe I
kind of where
got that.
it's where the tactical element of the game comes in,
Let's
because
get her done.
as soon as you stop and start aiming, they won't shoot at you, so you have all the time you want to line up your shot.
I see you there.
I shouldn't have been alive, oh my god.
Yeah, 10 HP is cutting it a little close.
Also, yeah, like, I have no visual cue for that launch. So if I mess up, that was like a mauler. Also, that was a blind shot, but if I missed, I don't have attack boost, I would have been so screwed. Oh my god. Maybe I should have gotten it, whatever, it's in the past now. I don't need it anymore. But that is a serious run killer, and I was not safe at all. That was as dumb as you can get there.
That was a boss tank, so that said, the anti-personnel damage on this tank is ridiculous, as I'm sure you just saw right there. In general, you want to shoot... I mean, you want to shoot all enemies in their weak point, and tanks have a weak point where they have a giant engine
To
at the back.
begin,
And the
here's
in-universe
today's
reason
news.
for it is that Ragnite, which is kind of the fuel of everything in this game, has a very, very high amount of heat waste. If they left those underneath the armor of the vehicles, it would end up overheating and basically blowing up. So you have to put this very large exposed glowing blue thing as a heat sink to kind of get it all out. So if you blow that up, the tank just immediately is destroyed, and you do remarkably more damage for hitting the cooling system on the back than for hitting the armor of the tank.
Alright, this is School Festival episode month, but... Well, there goes the neighborhood. The rebels attacked. We gotta defend school, and this is
Basically,
scary.
the rebels realized, oh, all of our plans are being thwarted by this dumb military academy. Let's actually stop them from being able to do what they want to do. And they decide to attack. You have to hold them off. And this is probably one of the most bonkers missions in the game. There are points where you can die on this, and there's really nothing you can do because the enemy units are so powerful they can kill armor techs that are crouching in your base and kill all of them in one turn.
Yeah, first off, we got Yvonne.
This is my favorite. Yeah, retreat Yvonne immediately because Yvonne's going to die if you don't do anything.
Oh, we're almost done with all the setup we need to do for this mission, and we just... my defense code and I didn't have the
Understood.
best kind of materials. I hope it's okay. I hope Joaquin and Alexis can defend, and we are done. I am crossing my fingers.
So it's not even it's not a guaranteed thing on this mission. Sometimes that base right there in Area 1, I have lost. I think I used to use shock troopers still back in the day. I think
Yeah.
with armor techs it's much safer, but I have actually lost 4 shock troopers in that base on the same turn and had the enemy take it over to lose the mission.
Yeah. There are
So my old strat used to be put the tank into one map, leave it alone because nothing can kill it, and then crouch as many units behind that in that base as you can. And I still have lost this mission from that.
yeah. There are 4 things that work here. So we finally upgraded. We haven't done any upgrading since June. That's kind of a long time ago. So I just went in. I upgraded the suits for my armor techs. I got defense coating. They have a defense boost from crouching and being in the enemy camp. No. I'm losing my words. But anyway, being in my own camp gives them an even more defense boost. All of these stacks, and so these guys are literal walls. And
Yeah. They're pretty bulky, and there's not really a way for them to get rid of the sandbags they're crouching under, I believe. So
yeah,
it should be fine. I just remember, and you're also healing a lot more every turn from standing in the base as well, which is another big portion of it.
yeah,
It was really just that I was using shock troopers instead, and shock troopers don't have the same bulk against V2 units that an armor tech does.
yeah. I forgot if Dirk was able to move around or not. It's been such a long time that I'm so surprised
He
when
does if he has someone to attack, I believe. I remember the first time this mission, he just left Yvonne alone and then laughed because he got blown up. Dirk is probably... he's probably the most dangerous single enemy unit in the game, now that
Yeah.
I think about it. I'm trying to think. The final boss really can't do as much damage as Dirk can. The Baldrin, you could make a case for since he'll dodge more than Dirk will, but the Baldrin can't kill you like Dirk can. Dirk can kill a tank in like 3 shots.
yeah. There's only. It sounds about right. God. I mean, like, thankfully we. Okay, that's just 2 out of 3 times we see Dirk. But
Yeah.
it's just. I wonder if they ever intended for you to retreat Yvonne. I don't. But I'm glad they did.
I have no idea. They have to have intended for you to retreat Yvonne because, like, I think even if you move Yvonne, he'll take 1 or 2 bullets from Dirk and be at like a third of his health.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hilarious that they even like force. The reason Yvonne is there is because the game forces you to spawn him there. So it's the one downside to Yvonne. So again, I said earlier that he has basically shock trooper health in a scout's body, but the one downside is that since he is the most important character in the story, on all story missions he has forced deployment in a specific position. And there are a lot of times where he's better off being deployed in a different area. So this is one of those missions where it deploys him in a really stupid place, and there's really nothing you can do with him there.
Yeah.
And thankfully we don't need him anyway in this mission, but
There's a lot of plot that happened that we're gonna skip. They dump a lot. Things get pretty serious. Yeah, so the school gets attacked. They were trying to capture someone called Alias, who we haven't
To begin, I
really
have a
seen.
new award to pass on to all
right.
of
So
you.
Alias is probably my favorite unit in the game. She's what's known as a Valkyria, which again we talked about. Like in the lore of this game, they're these really, really powerful people that use these giant spears and shields and have this weird property where they can use the powers of Ragnite without actually, like, the way we
To
do it.
begin, here is today's
So they have this
news.
really weird ability to deal with that, and they're kind of dying out for whatever reason.
Yeah,
So much so that they're basically legends at this point. They don't think they actually exist, and the ways you can identify them is they have very, very, they have white hair and they have red eyes when they're touching Ragnite weapons, like the traditional Valkyrian spear and shield.
yeah,
So Silvaria is probably the most famous in the series. You also have Alias, who is another true Valkyria. There are some spoilers for the first game that I won't go into, but there's another pretty important Valkyria in that game. And then you find out that Riala in Valkyria Chronicles 3 is Valkyrian.
yep.
So there's not a lot of them, but they're generally these very, very powerful units. Now, unfortunately, we don't ever get to use Alias as the Valkyria, which is both good and bad, because Valkyria units are stupidly powerful, but She is actually, even without that, probably the best scout in the game that isn't Yvonne. Although I guess I haven't tested Selvaria to know. Her passive ability is called Mysterious Body,
Yep.
which Alicia has in Valkyria Chronicles as well. And what that passive does
Yvonne,
is,
how can I
anytime
help
she
you
attacks,
today?
there's a random chance that she fully heals herself, because Valkyrian blood means that they actually can heal quicker, and yeah, they're just basically broken.
Alright, so we have our only mission where we kill everyone. But yeah. So kind of what happens is that, so the rebels kind of try to instill plans. They were trying to find Elias, but she was nowhere to be found. We find out that the school has been doing like experiments on students to like make these artificial Valkyrie units. So
Which weirdly resemble the V2s.
yeah, what do you think of that?
Right, let's get her done.
I have no idea. We'll find out.
What a twist.
I see
But
you
yeah.
now.
Oh,
Do you
and
use Alias in the root at all, just out of curiosity? I used to use her in a couple spots.
she joins too late, and we don't really use a lot of scouts aside from
Enemy
Yvonne.
silent.
If she
Okay.
joined
That's-
earlier,
Let's
she
get her done.
yeah, I would say yes.
If you started with her, she would be probably one of the best units in the game. Like, you would just use her almost instead of Yvonne in a couple places. But since she joined so late, the biggest problem with using her is that she's very hard to actually get out of the base scout class. Usually, even if you're not using Yvonne, you have other units that have probably leveled out of the base scout class.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't lose.
If I've only had it once where I actually one-turned this
I'm on the
mission,
move.
but that's the sort of thing if I, for
Like I'm
some
gonna
reason, I'm
trust
crazy
you.
enough to do a segmented run, I will try to go for a one-turn finish. I don't know, it's kind of a dumb idea I've had for like a year or two,
What,
where I just
done
want to see
already?
how far I can
See
push this
fresh
game
meat.
with the RNG. Who knows? Won't be doing it
I'm
for a
on the
while,
move.
but it's always in the back of my mind, and yeah, these heavy gunners, again, they're hard to hit, they
What?
hit
Done
hard,
already?
and
Enemy spotted.
you want to just
This is
capture
my
camp,
turf.
keep enemy reinforcements from happening, and Eric's just a great defender. Trying to think, I am good here, and now I'm just gonna spend the
Right,
last
let's
3
get her
CP
done.
picking off enemies.
Go down.
So, I'm hoping I can shoot that gunner over there.
Enemy silent.
It's a very
rolling
dumb
out.
shot, and I think the game doesn't know what to do sometimes.
Cute.
So,
I can
it may
take you
miss
all.
outright. It's kind of the curse of the turret,
Enemy silent.
but I got super
Right,
lucky,
let's get her done.
and I can just kill this other guy. If I got bloodthirsty again, there's an enemy ace I could try to kill, which, let's see what happens. Oh, God, this is gonna make my life so much easier, because
Down you go.
otherwise I have to do like a setup where I have to sandwich this guy, shoot him from behind, but... Alright, there's a defensive line, so not only do I have to defend the camp in one area, if any of these guys break the line in Area 5, it is game over. God.
Yeah, it's kind of a dumb part of this, or one of the dumber sets of missions, because enemies will just run at it and just kamikaze towards it and just pretend that they're not going, or just
My
never
pleasure,
stop.
sir.
Yeah.
I'm
It's a
racing
very
you.
rare kind of mission. In fact, I think like they had one or two of them in the original game, and even there, they're really, really janky to
I
handle.
clean hit.
This game has a couple as well, and yeah, some of them just like, okay, we're gonna just pray that things die as they try to run past me.
Yeah.
I'm rolling out.
Oh man. ED Attachment DLC in the first game did a terrible job of trying to do this kind of mission also. I hate that mission, and I don't understand how Katarev did his quote-unquote speedrun. I don't get you.
Moving out.
I did a speedrun of it. I'm probably the one that made the root Cataract use.
Like crap.
It's not a very difficult mission once you learn it. The biggest thing is just
I don't
understanding
lose.
enemy AI in the original game is very fixed.
Yeah.
Moving out.
Yeah, I actually probably came up with the root Cataract used.
Like, I tried doing it casually, I couldn't deal with it anymore. I just have a special kind of hatred for that mission.
It's fun. Once you learn how it works, it's actually not that difficult.
Alright. Maybe, maybe I'll go back to it. Maybe I see how I feel, but it's just how I feel right now.
Reading the series is actually really fun. Probably one of the most fun things I've done was when Nitrodon was getting this ready, the original game ready for the first RPG limit break, and we had to come up with ways of
To begin,
speedrunning some of the extra
here's
missions
today's
for
news.
incentive potential. And some of them were incredibly tricky. And the cool thing about them was that they actually would have forced us to
come
use
on.
stuff that we
How can
wouldn't
I
have
help
used
you
in any other
today?
mission. Like we used a flamethrower in one mission, and flamethrowers are something that we never used in the base game.
I've really been trying to push to get this game into RPG limit break, like you've probably known.
Yeah, I'm kind of known outside of speedrunning, or well, inside of speedrunning stuff, but outside of doing commentary and runs, as the guy that loves talking submissions and stuff. So yeah, Devin submitted this, and it'd be really cool to see him get a chance to do it in a major marathon sometime.
Yeah, and you know what? I am going to be using this run for submissions for RPG limit break.
Watch and learn.
Just because it's like marathon style, get to show
Enemy
off,
sighted.
and
I don't lose.
I have your amazing commentary.
I see you there. I don't lose.
And you're like probably like the best commentator I could ask for.
Moving out.
Once.
Nah,
I don't lose.
there are better people, but anyways, let's
I
not
see
stroke
you
my
there.
ego too much.
All right, I mean I got a run to do.
Yeah. So, what's the goal of this mission right here again?
Capture one camp, but we have to go through some areas and lots of enemies. I got very lucky that there were no enemies on the bridge. I've been known to get like 3 shock troopers. And, oh yes, stutter stepping and a dumb grenade launch.
Enemy spotted.
Oh, the two most finicky things in this game.
Yeah, like,
Yeah,
the-
this is why stutter stepping is, or it's important to get at least Scout better on the Vaughn, because Scouts, the base Scout class doesn't have access to Rag
I
Nades,
see one.
and the upgraded Scout Veteran does. And you do want to lead as well, just for the extra movement and defensive, but it's not that big of a deal, fortunately, whether or not we get to elite, but
alright.
because that is out of our control.
Please be nice to me, game. Please be nice to me.
Coming at you.
Oh my god. Huh. I see that.
How does that one work?
I think I was a little bit off, and it just depends if the guy wants to dodge or not, but I would have launched them both in opposite ways.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, how does that work? You throw a grenade, and it blows up, and the enemies fly towards the grenade.
This game makes no sense.
Okay, let's go.
It's, that was special.
Yeah. I mean, it's very finicky. Like, you could do it from, like, from the front or from behind, but
All right.
either way, like, I like to think I have a queue, but it is so hard to see. Unless you're on emulator, I can still one-turn this. That's the important thing. Also, Anisette is a really cool unit. She's great. Oh yeah, sister of Edie Nelson.
Yeah. Unlike Edie, she's actually really good, though. Edie is awful. Anisette's probably the best shock trooper not named Zeri in the game.
Anisette is a killing machine. Because she gets, like, country bred, so if she's on dirt, she gets an increase in attack and accuracy, and I think she also gets, like, anti-personnel boost just because.
Yeah, she has an anti-personnel ability. She's just really, really good all the way around. Her negative attributes aren't very bad as well, so.
Yeah.
I think it's unathletic, which means that she occasionally will run less distance or something like that.
I think it's accuracy or evasion.
It might be that, yeah. I was saying, because running would be a bigger deal. I just remember it was unathletic.
But yeah, that was
So,
relatively good. I mean, I don't even care that I messed up on launch. That's dumb. That's a dumb one.
yeah. It's kind of funny. I've kind of got like my own little like who's really good and who's really bad in my head, which is so like Anisette's probably the best non-story shock trooper. You've got Alias, who's probably the best shock trooper not named
To
or
begin,
stormtrooper. Yeah,
Here is today's
best scout.
news.
Sorry,
Yeah,
it's late. I'm getting words mixed up.
I can't
The
believe
best scout not named Devon. So
I can't believe I'm awake. I'm like so wide awake.
Hi,
This is the
I'm
most
on.
awake
How
I've been
can I
at
help
this
you
time.
today?
Also, oh boy, we got escort mission 3 out of 4. Yeah, Towers of Death. We get welcome to Cannon Towers. Oh god, I hate them.
yeah, so cannon towers are probably the most annoying unit in the game. They have no real weakness. they hit hard as hell. Like, unlike the other Gatlings in the game, they're not specifically anti-personnel or anti-vehicle. They'll just kill you both ways. They don't really care. And yeah, I think their weakness is on the back, which you almost never really
Moving
see.
out.
They take,
I see you
with
there.
the default
I don't
turret, it was
lose.
7 shots
see
to
you
kill
there.
from the front, which is ridiculous. Like, we were talking about most tanks in the game took 3 or 4 shots from the front to kill.
Enemy silent.
These take 7. That's so many actions to waste and try to kill these things. And again, if you don't kill them, they will just kill your units as you try to run past them. They're kind of brutal. The one thing that's nice about them is that unlike V2 units, they don't actually move. So as long as you're not in range, you don't have to worry about them, but there are points where they're placed right next to objectives.
Yeah.
I'm rolling out.
Oh, and the weird thing is that, oh, they take more shots if you shoot for them from the head rather than the body. I don't know. This game is weird.
It sort of makes sense. They armor the front and the sides are just like weird little panels. Oh my god. There's one mission where they place 2 of them right next to an objective, and I used to have to kill one of them in my old route. I don't know if you kill it or not, but
I don't.
killing that one cannon tower would take
I got it covered.
2 turns to kill it and make it safe to run in with another unit.
Yep, so
Thanks,
we,
kid.
Cosette is not forgotten, we still use her,
I'm
but,
rolling out.
oh right, because of events in, June, she has blood trauma, so if she gets shot at, she will suddenly lose all movement. And,
Yeah. She's not that bad outside of it. The biggest problem with her and engineers in general is that they don't have access to grenades, which is a huge deal because while her pistol does more damage than a rifle does from a scout, and they actually have very, very good movement, not having the ability to knock enemies out of bases or force them to stand up if they're crouching
yeah.
means that they fall off very, very hard, despite being probably, if you're looking at the beginning of the game, they're probably objectively the best units for the first 3 or 4 months of the game.
Right.
Also,
let's
I
get her
hope that
done.
APC doesn't give me too much trouble, and good thing I saw that landmine. The game will find ways to literally trip you up. I mean, trip a landmine, trip you up playing the game.
Right. Let's get her done.
So I guess something about mines, there's actually 2 types of mines. Smaller mines are anti-personnel. If you go over them with a person, they'll blow up, but a tank can go over them and take no damage. And then you have anti-vehicle mines, which
I'm in top form.
a person can run over, but the moment you send a tank near them, then everything goes kaput.
Yep.
And on the APCs, which have very little health and
Right.
armor,
Let's get her done.
you really want that extra health.
Oh, there's a Lancer, don't worry. Things are gonna be alright. I mean, they're too dumb. I mean, what could possibly happen? I know, right? I mean, don't worry, I've done this for like 2.5 years.
Thanks, kid.
I say this as something terrible happens. Oh, they're alive, holy crap. But, oh yeah, so these kind of missions give me marching credits. These are required to actually get, scout elites. And also, you actually need them for trooper elites. Because, 3rd tier classes have, like, credits all over, it is hard to remember which is which, and, like, getting the drops is very difficult. So, even in the post-game, it is stupidly hard, and,
Right.
I think I
let's
should
get
be
her
fine.
done.
I hope. Please tell me I'm gonna be alright. Oh my god, man.
Yeah, you see how this escort APC is just terrible. It just
Right. Let's
bleeds
get her done.
hit points when it's being shot at. In most other vehicles you have don't take damage from anti-personnel weapons. For whatever reason, the escort APC does. I don't even believe normal APCs take damage from bullets. Then again, I never used them because they're pretty terrible.
Yeah.
So, you have access to a lot of different tanks in the game. The one that we use is the light tank B again, which the big benefit to it is
To
that
begin, here is
it's
today's news.
smaller, so it only takes 1 CP to move instead of 2. Every other tank in the game takes 2. The downsides are supposed to be it's got very low health, and it only has 4 slots to upgrade it with as opposed to some of the turrets are by themselves 5 or 6 that you can mount on it. Then you have APCs, which again are supposed to be like you put 3 or 4 units inside it, move the APC, and then everybody jumps out of the APC and kills everybody. But in doing that, you give up the ability to have an anti-tank turret on your vehicle, which is a big deal because your tank essentially becomes your best anti-vehicle unit in the game
Yeah.
once you equip it with that really, really powerful turret that we picked up
Right, let's
from
get her
the enemy.
done. Hostile
I like to
spotted.
think this is where my Vanquish sticker comes in handy. And, this is going to be some pretty nasty execution. I mean, nasty good, hopefully. And Wounded Heart. So her unit got wiped out by a ghost tank, and bad memories decrease her accuracy. Not too bad here, but it's a bit concerning.
Well, when you see how, like, that's a decreased accuracy on that
Let's get
turret, which is
started.
hilarious if you know from the previous game. It's actually funny how much more accurate tanks are in this. The Edelweiss in Valkyria Chronicles 1, which is the tank that you're forced to use, is hilariously awful.
Yeah. Also, shout out to damage boosting.
The funny thing about that is I bet you that you probably took
Okay,
less damage
let's go.
by stepping on that line than you would have just running past those
Enemy
two gunners.
spotted.
That's why I do it. That's why I've been doing it for like the last 2 years.
So, gunners just do that much damage. You see right there, Yvonne is just bleeding hit points as they shoot him.
Frankazee.
Make your peace.
Frankazee, 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 Frankazee. Just keep on saying it. I don't know. It's become a habit.
I feel supremely confident.
Oh, yeah, so those are the same
Make your
enemies
peace.
there every time, and watch as my health...
I spotted one.
Oh, and now comes a favorite dumb strat of mine. So, it takes a while for the gunners to reload. I am gonna run past them at a certain time. Let's see if I get this. And then I still have to launch some dude, I forgot his name, he has a red hat.
Spotted.
Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4.
Don't let a chance to attack slip.
Wait for it, wait for it. Oh. Okay, come on, please tell me I did it. Yep, I did it. I could just tell right away. That is super dumb. I'm proud of it, though.
And again, you can see as he stepped over the sandbag, or Salvaria's health, when she wasn't crouching. When you're crouching and you have that
Get her done.
passive defense boost, and you can't be headshot.
I see you there.
That damage was doing 2 or 3 damage, even while Salvaria was crouching.
Taking heavy
If
fire.
she hadn't been crouching, it would have just...
Right. Let's
destroyed
get
her.
her done.
Luck be on my side this time. Come on.
So this is the other kind of member of the family.
Yes!
We've seen...
Taking heavy fire.
Do you get a Bloodthirsty?
Yeah,
Nice.
that's all I need. 1 out of 3
Right.
chance, and
Let's get her done.
we save like 15, 20 seconds.
Go down.
Right, so you have
The day is lost.
Baldrin, who's a shock trooper. You have Dirk, who acts like a V2, and you have their sister, Audrey, I believe,
Yes.
who drives the tank, and that tank is capable of blowing up an entire map in one turn, which is pretty hilarious.
Yeah. Also, the most durable tank. It takes the most hits out of any unit in the game, I believe.
5 shots from that tank, or that mounted tank. Yeah, that's probably up there with the most shots. I think it was even that many
To begin,
on the
here is today's news.
heat sink.
Yeah. Alright, so, alright, I should probably upgrade it. Good catch on my part. So,
The R&D kid.
yeah, like,
yourself at home.
alright, so damage formula. So you have your health, and you subtract the damage. So, I am not good at numbers, so something about, front side and rear defense, your attack power from your weapons, so that's why we really want to upgrade them. And the game's actually pretty generous, so that's why I've been able to run through a lot of things. Because the gap between those two factors is bigger in the third game, you take way more damage. And I'm gonna also play it safe here for a following mission here. Okay, so, temper.
Right. In general, they kind of realized by the third game that the pretty traditional, or the best way of doing a lot of missions was to armor up and then just run past enemies rather than try to kill them. And in the third game, they fixed that by making the interception fire in the game, or the attacks that enemies do while you're just running, much more potent.
Oh man, I just need a diploma for
How can I
Zeri.
help you today?
Also, Skogul Menace, remember this mission? Or, well, you run past a cannon tower? I don't know. I know it's been a while.
Yeah, I remember this is a mission that very often did not like to cooperate.
Well, I have a way of doing it, hopefully. Hopefully it works. And, I almost think you can do without defense coding, but that cannon tower is brutal. Alright, let's see here. I just need a retreat of Vaughn and Zeri. I will need them for the last two areas. Oh. Oh. And let's see what kind of luck we get here. It's always gonna take two. Okay, so that I'm just gonna kill them. Heavy scouts. These guys are interesting.
Alright, so the idea of heavy scouts is they're trying to take the best of scouts and shock troopers in a way. They carry more grenades, I believe. I believe they get the Randkreiser as well, the grenade launch, or the rifle launch grenades. I don't quite remember, it's been a little while. I never really used them very much casually either.
Yeah, these guys
In
are...
general, for our purposes, having the extra movement is more important than the extra potential damage output of the extra grenades that a heavy scout would actually have.
Yes! Got it.
So basically, when you class up, it's a branching system. So you can branch out and become, again, either a scout elite or a sniper. And then once you branch out again from there, you can become either scout veteran or a sniper. And then we went scout veteran, so from there you can go and become a scout elite, which does everything scouts do better. Or you can become a heavy scout, which ups, your damage output and reduces your movement a little bit. And then the snipers can become sniper elite,
Yes.
and anti-tank sniper, which are supposed to be anti-vehicle units. In general, you really don't use a lot of scouts. Their movement is pretty bad. And since, unlike the original game, you don't have as many units to deploy, they're just not used very often.
Alright. Yeah, so you see how much damage I take, and hopefully I can do this. Alright, so because I run a specific line, if I did it wrong, I could have been hit really hard from behind by a cannon tower, but by running at a certain angle, I can still have cover from the wall that was covering me. It's, hard to explain, I mean, without actually doing it, but trust me, it does make a difference. But...
Yeah. You really want to avoid taking as many shots from the towers, and if it means running along a wall, or even sometimes taking a longer route, sometimes it's actually worth doing just to avoid the damage from the cannon tower.
yeah.
So they are probably the most dangerous common unit in the game, as far as just their ability to kill something as it runs past.
Alright, so this is kind of like one of the last missions or so where I looked at your old run and kind of got some ideas for my route. And this has become a very fun mission to do.
This was a fun mission before. So this is another one of those hold a line missions where if the enemy crosses a specific line on the map, you immediately lose.
Yeah.
I believe is there also a secondary condition to win?
Just make
or
sure...
is it just hold the line?
Hold the line and keep your camp.
Okay, I was trying to remember, because I do remember that we actually killed some extra units in this mission.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't just... this was not a mission you could just stack up all your units and then wait. You had to actually go out and kill some guys.
Yep. We're gonna do something a bit special here. Hopefully the game will cooperate, and engineers are bad. They can dodge easily, so... I would use Yvonne, but this is why I use Zeri, because thankfully that guy didn't dodge. And I'm gonna just do a little something here. Oh, wait for it, Oh, come on, I believe in you, Also, nice rainbow in the background. But yeah. Let's look at the rainbow, whatever, but...
Well, there's actually not a lot of that in this game. There was a bit more of it in the original where tanks would be shooting at you, and you would just line up another unit between you and the tank, and the tank isn't smart enough to stop shooting. So, because it's like, oh, I can shoot you, but the problem is that it's not accurate enough to consistently hit you, so it'll also just hit its friend until it kills them.
That's a heavy tank. Oh, and Lancer Elites. Lancer Elites can do heavy damage on your tanks and vehicles. So it's in your best interest to kill them, and I don't know why I shot him. I don't know, my finger slipped. Whatever. I like coming up with excuses for everything. Oh, oh, what's this? Oh, it's a tank. Wonderful. I hope there isn't another Lancer Elite, otherwise I'm gonna cry. But I think we're just gonna end our turn. So if it was an APC, it would go south and try to attack my units. But if it's a heavy tank, it's gonna try to attack my light tank. My light tank can only take one shot from either Okay! I shouldn't be alive. Like... I'm just going to destroy the tank. I want to play it safe. I never know this game, by the way. And yeah, it just takes like... These units get stronger.
Yeah, heavy tanks have a ton of health, so killing them from the front takes 2 shots. Again, it's amazing that it's only 2 shots to kill this tank from the front, because there's ridiculous amounts of armor on it, and it's got just gobs of health. So you saw 1,000 health. Our tank has 600, and our tank would blow up like 2 times from 1 bullet.
I'm just trying to see how I can deal with this guy. I don't like him. It's like, I could totally leave him alone, but at the same time...
Oh, actually, you say you got 4 units in the other base. You say deploy a shock trooper. But...
Yeah, you know what, I can deal with that. I mean, we're gonna lose a lot of time, but again, this is a marathon, this is not a PB attempt. It's been long since that. But... It's like, do you want to risk it? Do you not want to? It's like, does the guy want to be an asshole? These are all questions that are going through your mind constantly. And I just said that last one as it came to my mind. And I just...
You gotta love it when they start dodging.
Yep. And I love it when the last bullet kills the guy. Way to make me feel on the edge of my seat. But... we're basically done. So, if things were a bit luckier, we would have had instant enemy phase, but sadly that's not going to be a thing. But remember that tank and that Lancer dude in Area 4? They don't move at all.
A lot of rooting this game came down to just knowing what the enemies would do. So when I was actually rooting this, I did it in an emulator, and I actually left enemy animations on even though I could turn them off, just so that I could see how they would respond to things. Because even though it's simulating them in the background, it's actually very accurate to what they would actually be doing.
Yeah.
So I would just put it in PPSSPP and then put it on fast forward and just let the animations go through pretty quickly. But that way I could actually see and follow and understand, oh, this is what the enemy's trying to do, and just run along with it.
Yep.
Essentially. So, again, in a speedrun you don't have that option, so sometimes if things go wrong or and such, you have to kind of guess and make sure, like, oh, okay, this happened, so I need to respond here. You know, you have to kind of, every now and then you'll double check and make sure, oh, okay, they sent in these 3v2 units in on my little base, and I actually did lose a unit, so I need to go ahead and just, you know, put another unit down and make sure that it's basically on all. So in general, it's not that big of a deal, but it is important every now and then to just kind of double check while things are going on in the background.
Say, Ghoul, did you ever protecting the water? I forgot.
Protecting the water? Yeah, I believe, actually, did I? I don't know. I probably did.
I don't know, I don't know if I ever read your notes, so maybe this is like the only one where I did everything from scratch. I don't think I even looked at your notes for this one, I don't know, because you did a very annoying escort mission, which I hate it. I'm so glad I don't do anymore.
Maybe I did that instead then.
Yeah,
So.
but we saved like, I don't know, 6 or 7 minutes just by doing this, so...
Here I come.
It's nighttime. Certain areas are hard to get through because of water, and,
Hey, it's Alias.
Yep, Alias.
Alias is also my favorite unit in the game, so it's always fun to use her.
Alright, please, 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 be nice to me, game. I hope I also didn't screw up here. That guy's a jerk! I hate him so much!
Oh man.
This game!
And the problem with that is that that's also, again, that's a... probably a Mauler, I think?
Whatever, I can just launch him from behind, but that heavy gunner, though. I could have had it if that guy didn't dodge. What's that, number 3? I don't know, but it's too much for me. This game is like, guys, like, I hate you game, but I'm like, no, don't leave the game, I still love you, give me all the good RNG, please. God.
Yeah.
Commencing
I was
strike.
gonna say, the thing with the other guy is that you really can't kill. With a scout, it's basically impossible to kill a... was it a Mauler? It's a Mauler.
Yeah.
They're stupidly bulky, and it's probably 8 headshots with a rifle to kill them.
Yep.
Maybe 9.
So, rip my one-turn strat. It had to be perfect for to pull off, but whatever, we have other ideas.
Right. Let's
Yeah,
get
it is
done.
possible to do this in 1 turn, but again, everything has to be perfect. But 2 turns is perfectly normal, and I get to show off some stuff, I guess. Also, yes, we're using Lotte again. She's just gonna flip a switch. That is all she's gonna do for this mission.
Enemy spotted.
Her
Do you
voice, though.
intentionally use lots anytime you want to kill somebody?
Whatever. I don't know.
No? Okay, actually, I thought, like, she was gonna flip the switch and then you were gonna let her die. I was like, man, that's so cruel.
Come on, I have standards. I think.
I don't know, she's the only person you've ever sent to the hospital
Yeah,
so
I feel
far.
great.
She hasn't been sent. I haven't gotten Splinter Horn. Okay, got it.
Oh, that's true, yeah. If you do finish the mission before then
I
she's
see
fine.
one.
She's the only mission that's been dead and stayed dead, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I used her to turn the turret the other way back in Darks and Liberation.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, so she is, so far, you've had her blow herself up. You've had her run in front of a turret just to turn it to some other unit to knock a shot at. And then you've had her go press a button that may or may not have been right next to a gunner. Yeah, that sounds like a very gratifying job for the school newspaper to handle.
I mean, it's called field reporting, okay?
I don't lose. I don't lose.
Oh, and I gonna do it. This is also why we use. Oh, good, they actually cooperate, and I'm very happy.
Man, that's a nice grenade.
Yeah, it just depends on how nice they want to be at not dodging, and
So yeah, usually like, that's exactly what you wanted with that grenade. You wanted them to kind of both go flying in opposite directions and clear that base so you could take it.
yeah. Also, don't worry, I'll be fine. Trust me, I've done this before. Oh, you see that Mauler? I wonder what he's gonna do. Yep. Every time. So I'm gonna go for a swag shot here. Maybe I go for a blind shot and maybe I go for another, but I kind of have to line up the tank. Alright. See if I can get it. Let's see.
Go down.
Got it. And I feel like, you know what, I feel like being a show-off. Let's see if I can get... I don't... It's a marathon, I do what I want.
Go down.
Nope, didn't get it. Gonna try one more time.
Right. Let's get her done.
Maybe 2 more. Let's see if I can get it.
I feel when you can't get bloodthirsty.
Miss.
Okay, you know what, I'm just gonna go for one more try. I
Let's get her done.
have an eye... My estimate's pretty good. I also haven't practiced this shot, by the way.
Eat this. Cute.
Okay, well, we still hit him. I wanted to be a show off, you know?
The bloodthirsty save.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let me
I could have gotten a headshot if I actually
Yeah, so
practiced.
right there, he got him on the shield, and V2s take less damage from explosives if you hit him on the shield. That said, it's kind of lucky that that does damage at all.
Yeah. That was...
Bullets don't do damage on shields, but for whatever reason, I guess probably realistically, explosions do damage through shields, just significantly reduced.
Yeah. That's, I mean... I don't know, it's just a thing where I just like to show off, and even if it's a total waste of time, I don't know. It's the thing I do. But we got a story mission.
If you didn't get that kill, there's not... Or that the blind shot, you probably would have to stutter step past, I believe, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so, I mean, it probably still was about equal even with the missed shots and the extra shot even after hitting the shield instead of the headshot, so it's not like it's a huge loss. Stutter stepping, while it is very good at getting past B2s and shock troopers, you do have to slow down since every step, you know, okay, take 2 steps, pull the Ragnite out. Okay, put the Ragnite away, 2 steps forward. So it does take some time to stutter step, as opposed to just running straight through with the Vaughn like we did right there.
Yep, so, kind of what's been happening to the story. So, the rebels took over the capital. So we find out that the old man, was gonna kind of hand over Gallia to the rebels. So, Baldrin isn't too happy, so he shoots him dead in the throne room. Claims that it was like somebody else, and, takes over as the ruler of the rebels and Gallia for the time being. But the loyalists or whoever kind of crippled the supply lines, and rebels have been suffering from major losses. Aldrin isn't too happy, so he's gonna go into like a mine, Ragnite mine, and blow up all the Darksons inside, and so we have to stop him.
It's interesting because Baldrin, you kind of get the feeling that he's definitely a bad guy. Like he's, you know, got his racist issues, but he also is very much, you know, the reason he shot his dad was a disagreement over his dad was using outside help, and he's like, we're from Gallia, we're better than needing help from, was it the Federation, I believe?
Yeah, the Federation, yeah, the Federation aren't your friends.
Yeah, he's like, we don't need that. Giving up our independence for that just doesn't work. So, like, he's both like a very bad guy, but also kind of an honorable one.
Yeah.
Which makes him kind of different from both his sister and his father.
Yeah, he's an interesting character, alright. And, like, you get more dimension to them in the third game if you played it. I believe, because a lot of characters from this game show up, like, 2 years earlier in VC3.
Yeah, Valkyria, again, so the original game, Valkyria Chronicles 1, is the Gallian Empire War, where the small country has to fight off this giant invasion that's taking over them because Gallia is very Ragnite rich. Again, Ragnite is essentially the oil of this game as far as it's where all your energy comes from. By the way, this is one of the bigger fights against Baldrin, so we're going to have to kind of sandwich him to try to avoid him dodging our attacks. I think he's going to be one of the few units that will actually dodge you from behind.
Oh, so close. Yeah, his head has a very small hitbox. I needed gunpowder coating to give myself enough firepower, whatever, to really kill him consistently, because otherwise he is a total pain to kill.
Yeah, he's probably, his defenses are huge and he dodges everything.
Yeah, and he has a stupidly dumb machine gun.
And the other, yeah, his machine gun does a ton of damage, and I think it'll actually kill your tank from the front.
And it has
the other problem is that you can't get, it's very, very difficult to get a tank into where we kill him. So we had to go around the back to sneak basically past his tank and his henchmen to kind of do that. It's actually a pretty, it was a very tricky mission to read originally, and Devon's really pushed it and made it much more consistent. When I did it, Baldrin could dodge enough to actually not die.
Yeah.
So it was one of the very few boss fights that I did. Bosses being enemy units with much more health, defense, and higher dodge rates that I couldn't do with the tank. Most of my original boss strats were just shoot the enemy in the head with the tank until it died. So,
Yeah.
but yeah. Anyways, yeah, the original game was the Gallian Empire War, where they were invading Gallia to try to take their rich Ragnite resources. And Gallia fights them off with the help of the militia and
I'm on the move.
Welkin and
Enemy
all the
spotted.
lovable cast of that
Enemy
game.
spotted.
And then Valkyria Chronicles 2 is again 2 years later after that, where Civil War is breaking out because of the fallout of what happened. And nice, good job, Eric. At least you got the box first.
That was just unfortunate. I can roll with it, I guess.
So yeah, so there was a civil war happening from the fallout of the first Gallian War. That taking one for a team, man, right there. Just no, don't blow up our APC.
Yeah. No, that was just unfortunate. It's just RNG.
Yeah, the hitboxes are a little bit janky, and it must have been on the very, very edge of that. So
I needed...
again, if you're just getting here from the beginning of the game, whenever you go into the aim mode, your bullets are essentially equally likely to go anywhere inside of that circle. And even though that circle is tiny, it's actually not as hard for the very edges of it to matter as you think.
Yeah.
Oh, one thing that is interesting, the PSP didn't have enough processing power to truly randomize the bullets. So you'll notice that basically, as a shock trooper, you'll have 2 bullets go to the exact same place every time. So it's like, it's really, you have 20 bullets, but it's 10 bullets that fire twice in every spot that actually hits the first one.
Oh, I did not know that.
You never noticed that?
Let's go.
Surprised. If you watch very carefully, you'll see it's 2 bullets in the same direction every time.
Huh.
As a shock trooper.
Okay.
I'm actually really surprised you didn't notice that. Yeah, it seemed like it had trouble randomizing the bullets fast enough for shock troopers, so it would fire 2 in the same spot.
Interesting.
I feel when I know something about this game that you don't, apparently.
Yeah, I apparently learned something new today. Not feeling too good here, but I will see what I can do.
I invite you to try.
And yeah, I would say clip through a landmine, but it didn't show up there.
Enemy sighted.
And since things got messed up, it's gonna be a 2-turn either way, but
This is one of the harder missions to get in a 1-turn, just because, again, you're dealing with the randomness of... This is one of those supply crate missions, so you have to get a certain number of supply crates. I believe it's 5 in this mission?
yeah.
And since we don't know where those supply crates are ahead of time, it's very difficult to both optimize a route where you can check to see where supply crates are, as well as everything else. And then having Eric die at the beginning of the mission is just the icing on the cake that's probably going to force a 2-turn clear on this.
Yeah. I'm hoping that there's no supply crate at the other side of Area 4. Because I have to get my tank, which is pretty slow. It'll take like 4 CP, and I also have to shoot APC that is always going to block the way. Meaning I can never get a foot unit through there. Yeah. And don't worry, Silvaria took one for the team. And don't worry about Anisette, it's just a scratch. A really bad scratch. But what we...
Okay.
So since there's a supply crate on the ledge, I have to use defense boost. So we're gonna have to get Zeri over
Watch
there.
and learn. I feel amazing.
I'm feeling
Is,
amazing.
is this the last supply crate for the mission as well?
Nope, 3 out of 4. And I am just gonna launch this. At least that guy's dead. But there's a cannon tower, there's a heavy APC.
Watch and learn.
It's not a good combination.
Alright.
And that guy's a jerk. God, I hate you.
Basically, it almost halves the amount of damage you take. It's pretty crazy, actually, when you see the numbers. It's not quite as crazy. One of my favorite things in the original Valkyria Chronicles was there was an ability called, was it Caution?
I think so. Wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Caution, and you would stack it with Defense Boost, and what Caution did was it made you take half damage from Interception Fire, which again is the fire that happens during your turn when you're running around on the map, as opposed to when you're stopped and shooting at enemies. But it would
To
have the
begin,
damage from interception
here is
fire, which would
today's
be,
news.
and defense boost would double your armor in that
Oh,
game. So you would be
Avant.
taking 1
How can I
damage per
help you
bullet.
today?
You could just run through these giant storms of bullets and take almost no damage. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah. Alright. But that was actually really good RNG that I got because I didn't have to go use my tank. So, fun fact, this is where I lost most time in my PB. Lost like 2 minutes or whatever because I messed up the setup. Alright, this mission you were talking about, by the way, of the 2 cannon towers.
This mission is pretty crazy. So the objective is just capture, I think it's even just the one base. You only have to capture one base. And they stack that one base with 2 cannon towers and 2 V2 units.
1 V2,
I believe.
1 V2 unit, well, okay, so 1 supply vehicle, maybe 1, Mauler, and
Okay.
1 to 3 V2 units. Also,
Yeah.
see that guy making a jerky motion? That's how fast we aim.
Yeah, so you see right here, this is stutter stepping. We're using it just to get past this V2 without having to kill the... Because we really can't kill that V2 without killing the supply vehicle. It would take probably 4 or 5 shots to actually take him down without killing the supply vehicle first. So all we're going to do is we're going to do the stutter stepping where he's trying to shoot at us, but he can't actually pull his weapon up in time before we go into an aiming motion of ourselves. And again, the game's logic is it can't shoot you while you're aiming because it wants to give you time to aim. So the animation essentially locks him out of being able to shoot at you, which is a huge deal because it probably, each one of his bullets would do 20 plus damage to Avant. If not, it would probably be more than that. But you get the picture. You could not run past that guy without that.
Okay, what are you gonna give to me, game? Okay, oh god, why do you have to do this to me?
Oh wow, triple V2. So you see, there's 3 V2s inside the base and 2 cannon towers. Those cannon towers can kill almost anything. And you see right there, he ran over a mine and almost one-shot his tank.
I didn't even care.
Yeah, I'm just pointing out this tank we have is incredibly squishy
Oh yeah, true
for a
that.
tank. So, thankfully none of these can do damage to a tank while it's your turn. On their turn, a V2 actually has an attack that can damage vehicles.
Yeah.
But those cannon towers do so much damage. You can see they're just not easy to kill. You're killing probably what are supposed to be the hardest things to kill in the game in V2s in one shot to the head. And even with this incredibly powerful anti-vehicle turret we have, where it does 5 times the damage of what you would expect, we still can't really kill cannon towers quickly.
I actually left a sandbag there so I had enough AP to run past, so I need to just capture the camp in one action. That gives me enough AP to go capture the other camp, and I made pretty easy work of that one.
Oh, nice. You got a certificate if you didn't have one on Avant earlier.
Huh. Interesting.
So you might be able to rank him up to Scout Elite if you didn't have that.
Whoops, I
So,
saved.
Probably the hardest ones to get for... Again, we talked earlier about ranking up your classes, and the way you do that is you get marks for your missions. And each type of mission gives a specific type of mark. So, for example, Escort, APC gives... I forget the exact types. I remember that was a pretty important type of mission to do because it would give you the stuff to rank up. And there's 2 types that are the hardest to get generally, and they're diplomas and certificates. Diplomas allow you to rank from a rank 1 to a rank 2 class, and certificates allow you to rank from a rank 2 to a rank 3. If you don't get them in, I believe there's probably only 4 or 5 missions in the run where you can actually get diplomas and certificates. If you don't get them in any of those, you're stuck being unable to rank up.
Yeah.
So I think it was it Attack X you got in the later APC missions? I don't know.
I didn't look.
I remember the APC missions were probably the more important ones as far as getting to Scout Elite. But okay, so we're still in November. We've got what, 2 more missions in November before
20 minutes worth of defend missions.
All right.
Alright, so get your sans emotes ready or whatever, because it's gonna be a long one. Alright, so, God, I hate this mission. This took me forever to even route.
This is one of the funnier ones. So, this is a desert, another desert mission. Which again, the desert will reduce your movement and increase the accuracy of people when they're shooting during a sandstorm. And the sandstorms in this, it's actually quite hysterical to get a very low accuracy weapon and then go in, because your characters will pull up their guns and will start shooting this low accuracy weapon, and these bullets will be flying out of this nozzle at like the most ridiculous angles. I've had ones go like look like straight sideways.
I'm on the move.
Alright.
It's one of the funniest things you can do in this game is just load up in the middle of the sandstorm, pull up. You'll see right here, he's gonna pull it up, and that is, it like doubles the size of that. So on some of the larger, less accurate weapons, you'll just get this thing cover the entire screen. The bullets can go
I don't plan
anywhere.
on losing here.
I could just aim out and still hit the guy just fine.
Is that all?
Also, I almost stepped over a landmine. Whatever. I've done that before and I didn't even mention
Let's
it.
get this started.
The other annoying thing about the sand missions is that it is harder to see sometimes, just because the
What? Done already?
sand obscures your vision, even like actually the player's ability to see the game.
Alright, so, Avon is in the one place in Area 5 where he won't be targeted by artillery. My tank in Area 4 is fine, it won't be scratched by artillery. Area 3, however, I need to be on the lookout, so I got 3 enemies that's pretty bad, including a mortarer. Mortarers are bad news, and commandos, I believe since they can't really shoot well, they're going to try to use their flamethrowers, and flamethrowers are deadly.
Alright, so I guess I can go into a little bit on what a mortar is. A mortar, in the original Valkyria Chronicles, your anti-tank units, your lancers, had a secondary weapon called a mortar, where they'd pull out this giant weapon that would kind of fire in a big old arc, and it would explode kind of like a grenade. Well, in Valkyria Chronicles 2, they removed that and made it its own class, called a mortarer. And the dangerous thing about them is that mortarers can unintentionally do what we do a lot with grenades, where they'll knock your enemies out of the base and then see an open base and go, ooh, I want that base, and they'll go take it. So for defend missions where we're not really paying attention, because a lot of it is faster to let the enemy act rather than go kill every enemy and make sure things are safe, sometimes it'll sneak a mortar towards the base, knock your guys out, and then say, hey, this base is open and I can take it, and you'll lose the defend mission because the mortar knocked all of your units out of the base.
Yeah, that happened once in the PB where I saved like 12 minutes. That was my one game over. Fun times. Yeah, I mean, this is, in my splits, this is usually 12 minutes. Only went over 10 minutes and by far the longest.
Right.
Yep.
In
And
general, if you pay attention, it's hard for things to go too badly. You got to make sure the artillery isn't going to kill you, and you have to just kind of double check and make sure that they don't send like 3 commandos or something. Again, commandos have the flamethrower, which has the same sweeping motion, but it does fixed damage. Generally, for the player, fixed damage is actually a bad thing because you don't have the ability to up your damage by aiming for headshots. Oh my god, that accuracy.
Impressive work.
okay. You know what? I'm gonna do another swag shot. And, that was really smart of me, okay?
So again, you see the sandstorm affecting it and sets accuracy. He's just, bullets are going basically sideways out of the gun. It's pretty great.
Yeah. So sandstorm happens on every odd turn. And there's also...
The idea is that you're supposed to kind of avoid acting and kind of play defensive on those, and then on the even turns, so the ones that doesn't have the sandstorm active,
Yeah.
you would kind of go more offensive because, you know, your bullets are going to hit.
Yeah. But man, you know, it's pretty crazy. We actually have enough people to say that we have like a Valkyria Chronicles community. It's pretty great. Because we have like 4 or 5 or 6 people now for the first game. I know that Eat the Pen was one of the more recent ones, and she actually got her time down really good, and I actually looked into New Game Plus runs for the first game. I know Fredo ran the game, first game on PS4. We got Miss Walker, and
And you get the original crew as well, where you got Nitrodon, who took the original segmented run from
Molotov.
yeah Molotov, and there are a couple people that even did a run before him on SPA that I can't remember off the top of my head. I know that Molotov was the big route that Nitrodon based the original single segment route off of.
Yeah.
And then I was kind of the second one to really kind of mess with the game and pick it up. And I never did very much with the first game, but then PX took it up after that. And then I believe once the PC release came out, it really kind of opened the doors for a lot of people, because the original version of the game had some pretty horrendous loads and lag issues. When you put that game on PC, where it actually is by all measures a very good PC port, which is pretty rare actually for most Eastern developed video games that come to PC after starting on console generally don't port very well. There's still some weird finicky things where if you up the frame rate, it'll mess with how tanks operate, but it really opened a lot of doors though, because this port is really good. There's very little lag in the loading. The controls actually work very, very well, where you could alternate between using a keyboard and mouse and a 360 pad with no issues.
Oh yeah,
So,
we forgot one person. Yeah, so Katarev, this guy from Switzerland, who he was like running the game on his own, and I discovered him on SRL one day. Just like how I discovered you running this game on SRL like two and a half years ago. So I told everyone else about, oh, this guy named Katarev is running the game, and like he pushed the game even further. Right now, he's the only person to sub 2 hour in the first game.
right.
But yeah, and then, I mean, you and
Yeah,
I.
and then for VC2, it was I did the initial routing, you took over, and then I know there's some people that have helped you since, so
Yeah.
you can help me better than I can.
Yeah, and who knows who's gonna pick up the third game? There is a route, but there's a ton of work that needs to be done, and it's gonna be like a 6 or 7 hour run, I think.
And the third game is much more difficult, which would require a lot more safety, and since a lot of the traditional strats where running past enemies seem to have not been patched or nerfed necessarily, but they made it much more difficult to actually execute properly.
Yeah.
It's
And
interesting because the thing with Valkyria Chronicles 2 so far is that it's very difficult, but it seems like everything is a viable option, which is very interesting. It'll be interesting to see how that actually ends up shaking out.
yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know, some other game series where it's like they may all kind of play the same one form another, but they're like very different as speed games. I don't know. For some reason, I just keep on thinking of the original Donkey Kong Country trilogy for like the SNES, where first game is like kind of straightforward, second one has a lot of tech, and then the third one is, well, it's the third game.
I think probably the best comparison is if you talk to Pink Pajamas, who does the Disgaea games, he says the fifth game, the hardest thing about the game is knowing, since everything in the game is so broken and so good, finding the one option that's better for specific situations is very difficult.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like that's going to be the case with Valkyria Chronicles 3, where you have so many very powerful options. So, for example, they added in specific character abilities for the three main characters in the game. And like the main character's one is that he can link up with other characters and basically take 2 units with them, almost as like a vehicle as a transport type thing.
Yeah.
And it makes him really, really good, and it's really interesting. And where you would use that, I think, is really, really cool. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of little things like that in the third game that are going to be very interesting when we finally get around to fully optimizing the route for it and finding out it's going to work well. And again, there's so many good things in that game that it's hard to tell. Like the tank is technically similar in how it works to the light tank in Valkyria Chronicles 2. It'll be really cool to see how it all shakes out. So I'm really excited for when people get around to it.
I really need to play the game casually. I just need to sit down and finally do it. However, we did find out orders are back to their brokenness like they were in the first game, as in, 1 or 2 CP, and
begin,
penetration
here
is
is
really
today's
broken from
news.
what I've heard. Again, I still need to play the game, but
I
I will get to it.
Can I help you
Orders
today?
are good, but they're still not as good as they were in the original. So
Fair enough, yeah.
the original, they were by far the most broken things in the game.
Yeah.
So I don't know, it'll be interesting to see, like I said. So
Who knows? I'll probably be the first to get to it at this rate.
Probably, we'll see.
Yeah.
So this is another defend mission, right?
Yep, another defend mission, and this is the other mission where we actually do some RNG, or enemy AI manipulation. That's the more correct term. So,
Right, I was gonna say, in the truest sense, we don't have any RNG manipulation, which,
yeah.
if we did, we would be probably avoiding all of the dodges and random stuff that we really don't like seeing. But the AI in the game is somewhat predictable, so we can force them to kind of do what we want them to do on occasion, which, you know,
I'm
is
rolling out.
sometimes a big deal.
Yep.
Sometimes it's not worth it because, again, you know, on these black screens, sometimes it's better to just let the AI do its own thing. But
Go down.
and a lot of the reasons the AI has this variance is, again, the random spawns. Sometimes you'll get them spawning in one place, sometimes you'll get a different type of unit in that spot.
Right.
You really can't control it, you just kind of let it do its own thing. Also, you have really bad bloodthirsty luck today.
Eh,
Down you go.
whatever. I mean, at least I didn't have any snipers, lancers, or mortars in my way. Those guys, I would have had to go on my way, and they just slow down the enemy phase. It could be worse.
I always love seeing Nitrodon's reaction to when I first was doing runs of this game, and he saw the tank, and he was like, "That's the tank in Valkyria Chronicles too?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Lavinia is kind of good." He's like, "Let me get this straight. It's the most accurate unit in the game. It does more damage than any unit in the game. It costs 1 CP to move.
Let's get
It has the
done.
ability to shoot twice randomly." Like, yep.
Yep, imagine being able to do the radiator shot in the first game with this kind of tank.
Down you go.
Alright, so in the first game, there's a blind shot across a bridge where you basically have to take your tank, and even if you lined up perfectly, you'll miss about half the time just because the Edelweiss, which is the tank in the original game, is so horrible at actually nailing its shots. Even when you upgrade the turrets, it can't really hit its shots very well.
Yeah.
And we never upgrade the turrets because it takes way too long and it's expensive.
Alright, yeah, so I backed up the tank in a specific way in a back straight line. That's really important. That's because there's an enemy ace who happens to be a stupidly powerful tank. It can one-shot my tank. And it'll technically be able to see me, but because of the way I am positioned, it won't actually be able to shoot me. This is something I just did through trial and error and just testing stuff out.
Right, and if you didn't do that, you would probably have to go
Watch
from
and
the tank,
learn.
right?
Which
I
is,
feel
Given that
amazing.
an ace tank is probably going to have
Nothing to get
3
wild.
or 4 shots worth of armor on it.
4 shots.
You're
Yeah,
through.
so
And this guy, Lancer elites are bad news. Unlike regular Lancers, these guys can scratch, well, they can hurt tanks really bad. And I'm going to double check. Okay, I think we are good. We got good luck. We are
they
basically,
probably the Lancer elites would probably 2 or 3 shot on tank, and
Yeah.
the original Lancers would probably 4 shot.
yeah, sounds about right.
So even if we did get shot by the normal Lancers, we usually would have enough time to see that our tank was taking damage and react. With Lancer elites, sometimes they'll spawn enough of them where you won't have a chance to see that.
Yep. Oh, and there's an AT sniper. They don't really do much. And this, I only get scouts, so they're like, no, not today, not ever, not tomorrow, not next week, not ever. So we're just passing turns in. We have 8 turns. Raging Sands is the only one where we have 3 camps. Every other one has 1 or 2 camps.
Right, and again, as the game goes longer, the first couple defend missions are like 4 or 5 turns. They slowly make them a bit longer as they up the number of bases. So it's pretty interesting how much. Because the first couple missions in the game you can do in 2 minutes, 3 minutes. The later the game goes, the missions just get progressively longer and more complex.
Yeah. Yeah, this is just around the time where I just start thinking about things and like how much time I spent and just actually having time to think about things, which otherwise would trip me up because I have to focus, but like dang, I really do love this game.
Aren't video games great?
They are wonderful things. And yeah. I mean, it's like I think that I was at the right place at the right time. I was just browsing SRL one day. I was like so burned out from this game, and I'm like, I wanted to get back into this, and I remember looking at your Google Docs and I'm like, I didn't even think it through. I'm like, okay, sure, I feel like running it. Then I didn't think about. It only sunk in like I don't know, sometime later. I'm like, yeah, this is gonna take a lot of work.
It's a pretty complicated game.
It
Something
is.
to note that is interesting is this game is actually, this series is getting a fourth game now. That's sort of a weird pseudo spin-off type thing.
Yeah.
It is Valkyria as your revolution. It'll be interesting to see how it turns out because they're scrapping the Fire Emblem Tactics engine type thing, and supposedly they made a couple of adjustments from an original demo they put out that makes it less of an action game and more into a tradition. It has a more tactical element to it now, so it'll be interesting to see how they managed to handle that. But it is interesting to see that they are making another game in this series. A lot of that is probably due to this game when it came out, or the original game when it came out on PC, actually sold very well
Yeah.
and kind of reinvigorated Sega's interest in the series because the classic metric that I always point to is it was only $20 when it came out on PC, but for the week it came out on the same release week as an Assassin's Creed game and actually outsold it the same week on Steam.
Yeah, that's amazing. And like, whenever I say people like, oh, I speedrun this game, oftentimes even back in SGDQ 15, people were like, oh, I got the first game on Steam recently. And it's pretty cool to see all the recognition, even if it's like the first game, because more people knowing about the series. Because I still remember, this game was the first game was the reason I got the PS3, and it did not sell very well. In fact, it took forever for it to actually be considered a cult success, something like that. But
It was one of the last games that was released on PS3 without trophy support, which is kind of one of the little weird
Yeah.
tidbits about it.
yeah,
Also,
because
yes, the enemies will occasionally shoot themselves with artillery
yeah,
and kill. It's pretty hilarious when it happens.
yeah, because
I
I
think
know.
you get credit for it too, as far as like rewards and experience at the end of the mission for killing enemies. It's pretty great.
Yeah, I know that in yeah, 09 and onward, Sony mandated trophies for all PS3 games, and then PS4 version, it's still worth. It's a great version to play, 60 FPS and all of the good stuff for the first game. You get actual trophies.
Yeah, there's a lot of
To begin,
interesting.
here is today's news.
It's kind of an interesting game just for the time it came out as well. The other game that people used to say like, oh yeah, the Valkyria Chronicles didn't have trophy support, and the other game that people brought up was actually, I believe, Metal Gear Solid 4, which got trophies patched in like 2 years after its release.
Yeah. Also, Ghost King, I think you forgot a kind of obscure one. The Sakura Wars games. We only got the first one in like the West. Actually, was one of the poorest selling games for Nisa when they localized it for the West.
Actually, that wasn't the first one.
There was a fifth in the last one. Yeah.
I mean, did we ever get the first one? I thought the only one we ever got was So Long My Love,
Yeah, that was the fifth one.
PS2, and yeah, that series goes back a long time.
Like we're like back to the Saturn.
I
Like,
think it came on the Sega CD originally. I know I actually have the Game Boy Color version of the original game.
I want to say because there are two solo games on the Saturn, then they brought some to the Dreamcast, and then PS2, and Issa did a kind of janky job on the fifth game. I could go on, but like kind of like the whole moving units around and attacking. Well, it's not like real-time-ish like this one. It's kind of like its cousin, distant cousin in a way.
Yeah. There's not a lot like Valkyria Chronicles, and from what I understand, I haven't actually played. I actually own the game and haven't played any of it, but Sakura Wars Still On My Love is probably the closest to Valkyria Chronicles any game's gotten. This is an interesting mission, by the way. This is a mission where specifically Zeri has to get to the end of the mission, or the end of the map, and you have to hold one base while Zeri goes. And this is actually another mission where you can actually die and not be your fault.
Yeah.
If you take too long, the boss tank in this mission is, you see right there, Avant has fallen. So like you'll just deploy units and they'll just die randomly. I've actually lost this mission on turn 1 where, despite having 3 crouching units, still dying from the artillery.
Yeah. So world record
There's the set. That's 3 down. Yep.
Yep. Sometimes. Yeah.
Actually, nothing you can do about that.
It's like world record strats say, okay, how are we doing on time? You know my time?
I'll load up the stream in 1 sec.
Alright.
Hold on.
3
How
hours
can I
and
help
6
you
minutes.
today?
You know what? I'm gonna try this a second time. I feel, I'm gonna toss a coin.
Yeah, it's basically a coin flip if you don't actually crouch your units or put more bulky units down, whether or not you'll survive that. It's kind of bonkers that you take that much damage, and there's really not much you can do to mitigate it. You just kind of pray that all of your units don't die and have your base camp taken.
Yeah,
But
because
yeah, that's about the only thing that's really too scary about this. I do believe it does help if you can get Zeri to rank up as a trooper, because you get the extra movement, you can save a couple of actions with them.
Watch and learn.
yeah, I'm gonna try something here. God,
It doesn't matter too much because Zeri is one of the best shock troopers in the game. You'd use it even
Gonna
if
get riled
you
up.
didn't have to be ranked up for this.
Moving out.
Yeah, like 307 still is pretty good pace, but I never know what determines whether or not I can survive that turn. But
There's nothing. It's just it's basically how much damage you take from the tank, if I remember correctly.
do you think it's RNG in the purest sense of the word?
I don't lose.
It's basically luck. There's no way of manipulating it. I don't even think crouching
Watch
the
and
units helps
learn.
very much.
No, because
lose.
Audrey's tank is powerful. It packs a punch,
Mhm.
and we're
Yeah,
gonna see what happens. It depends.
Every
If,
time I did it, it seemed like it was like 75%. You'd be fine, and the random 25% you just die.
all right, here we go. Someone has to dodge, please, for the love of God. I am so scared.
There's 2 down. You can see on area 5 on the map. You see the 2 little squares with the line through. That's 3 dead, and you're gonna have to reset again.
I'm starting to think. I'm wondering if I should just spend a few seconds to place somebody there from now on, because
You might want to put on a coding or something as well.
do you think it's worth?
Just to get through the mission.
Because I know I'm never going to like rainbow split this mission again. I don't know.
It might be.
Avant.
Just to
How can I help you today?
sometimes it's worth giving up 8 seconds to not lose a minute.
You're right, because like I used to play risky, and then I just realized how flawed my strat was, and then I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna spend these 8 minutes to save myself like a minute or 2 or 3 or 4.
Yeah. Again, and there's not really that much you can do to mitigate the damage you're taking there. We're putting in very bulky units and just hoping they're going to make it through. I think Anisette and Franca have about as much HP as you can get for shock troopers,
Yeah.
which have the most health in the game outside of armor techs. Maybe you should try an armor tech there instead of
Watch
shock
and
trooper.
learn.
Huh.
Nothing to get
Or a
riled
lancer
about.
if lancers are better at taking less
I don't
anti-tank damage.
I don't know if it'll make a difference,
I
because
don't lose.
it's Audrey's tank that does the killing,
Watch and learn.
I
Yeah,
think.
so
I don't lose.
I think so too. It's probably the only way you could mitigate that, even if you
I
could.
don't
I used to
lose.
just play shock troopers and make them crouch.
Watch and learn.
Like I said, it was about 75% of the time you'd be fine, but you could have just rolled a 1 on a 4-sided dice
Watch
twice in
and
a row
learn.
there.
Alright, do you think I should play safe and try one more time? What do you think?
I might place an armor tech just for safety. It's a marathon. We've died. You died twice from straight luck at this point. You might as well just play it safe and put another unit down.
Alright, let's see what happens. It's always...
All right, go Morris. You got it, bud.
Come on, I believe in you, Morris. Alright, that's 1. Franca took 1 for the team. Avon killed right away. You know what? I think from now on...
Come on, Morris. You got it.
I mean, there's so much variable in like my time saves and my sum of best and my PB potential that I should just throw a unit there from now on. I don't know.
When it's straight luck and there's nothing you can do to manipulate it or change it, it's probably worth it. Again, that was, what, 3 or 4 seconds to place the unit?
Yeah, you know what? Like I said, I mean...
And of course, this time, well,
Watch and
maybe...
learn.
We're going to say Morris blocked the shot and protected
Enemy sighted.
on a set, and then we're going to leave it at that and pretend that helped.
Yeah, exactly. That's our interpretation.
Watch
So,
and
good
learn.
job, Morris. You saved the run.
Yo, one time, a stray bullet hit a crate and tank exploded.
There's some pretty wacky things that can happen with accuracy in this. Yeah, all you do is you get to there, and you're done. I believe he opens some... or something and ends up flooding it and killing killing like everybody.
Yeah, and guess what? We are on the final month. Home stretch, but we got 7 missions. But yeah, I think if I was doing a segment run, I would just do what I used to do in my RTA runs.
Alright.
I think.
Okay, so December
How can I
has,
help you today?
of course, the hardest, some of the hardest missions in the game. I believe this is when Beyond the Floodgates is, if I'm not mistaken.
God, that.
Yep, Beyond the Floodgate. So we're not doing it yet, but Beyond the Floodgate was a mission that was actually so hard to find a working route for that my first route didn't actually go through it because I couldn't find a way of doing it. My second route revision, where I was trying to force it out, because if you don't do Beyond the Floodgate, you have to do a route all the enemies mission, which takes about 22 minutes done perfectly.
Yeah.
My second attempt was about 30% to do it, and it took 7 minutes to try. So if you tried it 3 times and got it, you would save a minute over the doing the other strat. Devin is much more consistent at it than I am, but yeah, it was fast enough to go for at a 30% completion rate compared to the other one, but it is so dangerous. It's incredibly easy to die, basically anywhere.
Yeah. I saved the worst for last, and people have described what I tend to go into. It's what's been called a combat high, because, like, I saved the worst for last. I'm just afraid of what's gonna happen. All my senses kick in, and the adrenaline lasts me for the last leg of the game. And like, last
I
time.
mean, and the reason I used to do it last is I would actually go and do 1 extra leveling trip before. Again, Devin hasn't done much leveling at all because it's not really necessary, but it added a bit of safety by adding extra health and a bit of extra attack to all of your units.
Yeah. So December can be described as kind of a build-up. This is like the calm before the storm right here. In fact, if I had rare good RNG, it would just be 1 tank instead of 2. But that's only happened once.
Yeah. And again, you see all the units around. Those are all mortars, which, if you don't have a tank, is pretty awful.
Yeah. Trying to think what else can I say about Beyond the Floodgate. Oh yeah! Just where 1 unit is can completely change the route for that mission.
Right.
What else? Yeah. I think the
And
last.
the thing about Beyond the Floodgates, it's not even the only difficult mission in December. A lot of the missions in this month have cannon towers and V2s and things all over the place. So it's not like there's even a good, like, easy mission outside of this is the only, like, for some reason this is a defend mission with only 1 base. And again, when there's only 1 base, you kill everything that can kill your tank and you park your tank and then you laugh.
Yeah. And we got a very annoying supply crate mission, and probably my favorite capture the camps mission in terms of execution. Just because it just kind of brings together my way of approaching routing and running these sort of games. But I will get there in a bit.
Yeah, this is, I don't know, this map was always interesting to me, just the way it worked, just since you only had 1 camp, but again, to go for a shorter completion than just getting through the 7 turns, you have to actually kill every enemy on the map. So you have to kill every enemy across 3 of these little mini maps. There's probably 8 enemies, 9 enemies per map minimum.
Yeah.
So thankfully there's not a lot of grass. Grass is when those become very difficult because you can't see them until you're right on top of them.
Alright, here we go.
To begin,
6
here
more
is
to go.
today's news.
Right.
Come on.
Oh
How
god,
can
I
I help
hate
you
this
today?
mission. Retrieving secrets. We're in full circle, we're back in the woods, but it's more annoying than ever.
It's, I believe you have to retrieve 5 boxes.
Something like that. Alright, Solaria, and then Zeri's gonna go right here, and then Helmut. You know what? Let's put Alias. We need to show her some love.
And again, if you're just now joining us, the find the goods missions have, if there's 5 places, or 5 of them you have to collect, there's probably 10 or so places these can actually be placed across the map. And so Devin has a route where he's going to be looking as he's going and trying to basically find these boxes while using as few turns as possible and reacting to random enemy placements.
No tank this time. That's good.
No heroics out there, guys.
Usually I would put my tank in front of another tank there to make sure my unit doesn't get shot at too much. I'm not too concerned about that, commando. See, didn't get scratched. But I am gonna look at the ground and use a visual cue here. Alright, so, let's see here. So if I believe I right at this mark and I do this correctly, which I did, you do this. Good job, me. I looked at the ground correctly. It just requires us looking at these fine details.
Moving
Yeah.
out.
Again, you can try for other places, but there are chances if you don't have a good setup where
Crisis is a turning
they'll fly
point.
into the sandbag, which will stop them
Oh my god!
falling out of the base.
What's a little blood loss?
That was bad luck. Alright, this could be a two-turn. We know what's gonna happen.
The nice thing about the
Takes more
capturing
than that.
secrets, or get the boxes, is that it's generally pretty hard to outright fail them. So,
That
usually
guy's a
the worst
jerk.
case scenario is you take an extra turn or two, or you just have very
Now
bad
it's my turn.
luck at actually
I feel
finding the
great.
boxes. Yo, the grenade dodge.
God.
So rare to actually see those.
I hate that guy so much.
Enemy down.
So we're gonna run right up and shoot him in the head.
Alright, so this
So
is...
good job with the ragdolling. Let's have him. We're gonna shoot him and then he's gonna fall the other way.
Guess what? Let's get Latte. Remember her? She may see another... She did good.
Dude.
I don't even know why you're using her instead of Nicole, because...
I don't know.
Oh god.
Moving out.
Because if she had died like a frame sooner, you wouldn't have gotten
Enemy
that
prepping
box.
is live.
Okay, that was bad
Nicole
luck.
hasn't the hell.
Oh god, here we go. Here we
Or
go.
helmet.
I think my... You know what? I'm gonna leave my camp unguarded. What's the worst that can happen? You can tell I'm a bit nervous.
Sometimes the enemy AI is bad. And my favorite is when they won't go at your bases unless you have someone in them.
Yeah.
I forget which one it was. There was one mission where I had a strat that wasn't working, and then I took all the enemies or the units out of my base, and the enemy didn't take it. If I
Alright.
had someone in it, the enemy would send someone in to kill them, and then the enemy would, after they killed them, they would run in and take the base. But as soon as the units out, they wouldn't take my main camp for some reason. Really, really bizarre interaction.
Huh. Alright, come on, come on. Alright, turn 2. It's unfortunate. This is like spaghetti choke force because I can always save time here usually. Because of
I
one
mean, some of that wasn't your fault. There's a
Exactly,
bit of
yeah.
bad luck there. And see a Zeri, and
Yeah.
the other one is Lot.
and I wonder what Oh. Okay. You know what? Alright, this is gonna be interesting by the... You know what? I have better ideas. Same thing.
Enemy spotted.
Oh, the jukes!
Crisis is a turning point.
And
Right,
that
bro?
guy's a jerk. I'm gonna... This is revenge. Or not. I'm glad I have a high estimate, you know? Because stuff like this.
Okay, let's
In
go.
fact, I'm amazed.
Coming at you.
Fill in the base. That's hilarious. So again, the way you capture
All right.
bases is you go into them when no one's in them. You're supposed to kill the enemies, but you can usually cheese it by just throwing a grenade and knocking them out because the grenade has knockback on it. On occasion, they'll get stuck on walls, or more commonly sandbags, and they won't be out of the base, which means you have to either finish them or whatever else.
I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm just pulling strats out of nowhere. This is so dumb, by the way. Why do I do this to myself?
I see you.
It's hell yes, if she gets too low on health, just pull out her gun and shoot someone, and she may get a serious body.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like, kind of fun for me is that I have to improvise and just think of things instantly like I've never done before.
That was why I liked Valkyria Chronicles 2. Valkyria Chronicles 1 is a lot more set,
Yeah.
which is good in that you know where everything is going to be at all times.
To
But I like the
begin,
kind of
here is
unpredictable
today's
nature and the
news.
fact that in Valkyria Chronicles 2, there were so many more chances where good play and smart
Oh,
reactions
Avant,
would be more
How
important
can I help
than
you today?
anything else.
Yeah. Counteroffensive is probably my favorite late game mission. It's execution if I can do it properly. So right here and right here.
So, which one is counter? Oh, this is capture 2 bases.
Yeah, capture 2 bases on the other sides.
Right. Something that it'll do is you see again how the bases are linked, where one camp will correspond with the base in another one. It won't give you any bases in the areas where you want to take a camp. So you actually have to take a
I
base
see one.
to move across to the other camp. That's generally how it
This is a
keeps you
turning
from
point, right, bro?
being able to take these bases quickly in later missions.
Right, come
Is
on.
you have to capture one base to get into a base to capture the base you actually want to capture.
Coming at you.
Whatever, I can recover from that. That's a hard grenade launch to do.
Moving
So again, right there, you see he got launched into the sandbag, and unlike the original game, they can't go over sandbags. So if they get launched into them, they just kind of fall in place awkwardly, and you get really mad. Then you have to go kill them, which takes, as you can see right there, since this unit's anti-personnel, his defense is stupidly high. Nice shooting, Arvon.
Yeah, that's what I like about the late game. And the guy didn't notice me. I mean, yeah.
Moving out.
Yeah, it's again,
I don't
all the
lose.
stuff is stuff that you can usually account for. It's just a varied, okay, how long is this going to take, or how difficult is this to recover from? So,
Yeah. And
Watch and
there's a
learn.
reason this game's been my main game for like 2.5 years.
yeah.
The Vanguard has made contact. Sending
So,
support.
moving along, this area's looking good.
On to the next objective.
Right, here comes something fun. So I'm gonna use this tank to block a bunker, and we're gonna run past the Kool-Aid, and
Hostile spotted.
we're gonna launch a guy out, capture camp hopefully, and hope I do the setup properly. Alright. I don't have to worry about that guy over there, but B2 on my right.
Enemy silent. Right. Let's get her done.
It just some creative thinking, that's all.
Down you go.
So let's see here. So we're gonna use Valkyria. She has the most health. And
So the unique feature on this map, again, he calls it Kool-Aid. It's this poison water that if you run through, you take damage slowly, and I believe it also lowers your defense.
yeah, as you can see, even a few shots from the bunker hurt me really badly. But the tank covered most of the shots. That's the most important part. And we're gonna look at the last area and see what we can do there. Okay, let's see what happens. Probably have one shot.
Rolling out.
Okay,
Hostile
I'll just
spotted.
destroy the supply vehicle.
Eat this.
This is why I love the tank.
Down.
Yeah, this wouldn't be possible without that captured turret that we got. Again, it's unfortunate that it's not the most common drop, but it is
Down you
important
go.
that we get it for the sake of... Jeez Louise, that's ridiculous.
Rolling out.
Told ya.
Yeah. Again, none of this would be possible with the original tank turret, or any of the turrets that we'd have available without doing the capture shots. We would have to send the tank all the way across through this map to the end, shoot the V2 and the supply tank there, and then move on. So, I believe this is actually one of the maps where they don't take your base if you don't have someone in it, which is why we can do that strat where we just leave that one map alone.
They do nothing.
Yeah. I believe if you actually had someone standing in the base, they would actually send someone to the base to kill them. And since they can act after they shoot that enemy, they would actually go take the base afterwards, which is really hilarious. It's kind of, I don't even want to say it's poorly programmed AI, it's just AI that's expected that expects you to do certain things.
Yep.
And when you don't do them, it kind of messes with the game's ideas of what's going on.
Moving out.
I'm getting really good luck, so let's see if I can pull this off properly here. I used to shoot the guy from far away, but more efficient to launch him. And we have the worst for last, Beyond the Floodgates. So you're probably seeing how the game's been trying to kill me with RNG, but this time it's out for my blood, and it will not stop until I'm completely dead. I really
Right.
mean it.
Yeah, this is probably even the hardest mission in the game casually, let alone doing it in a speed run. If I remember correctly, there's cannon towers, there's V2
To
units,
begin,
there's
here is
really
today's
jank,
news.
and to top it all off, you don't have access to your tank, which we've established by now. Our
Welcome
tank is
to R&D,
pretty
kid.
damn good.
Make yourself
Yeah.
at home.
It does okay for itself in this, and again, since it's the APC, we can't even upgrade it to make it better. Like, there's nothing we can do to really fix that or make it easier to deal with. It's just, we have this, our best unit is now the single worst unit we have. And you have to find a way around that while using this really, really squishy, fragile, terrible tank. Like, it's so bad.
Guess I can deal with this type of formula. Alright, final R&D trip, and let's see what we get here.
I've been waiting.
Alright, come on. Be in there. I feel better.
Right. So Scout Elite
Avon.
ups.
How
You
can
see
I
how it
help
ups
you
its
today?
AP to a ridiculous number. He's now going to have a full bar of movement, which makes a huge difference. It's not as important as Scout Veteran because Scout Veteran is what gives them access to Ragnade, without which you can't stutter step. But it is a big deal.
Here we go. Deep breaths. Please tell me this is gonna go alright. I just need some reassurance.
You got it, bud. Let's go.
Thank you, that's all I needed to hear. Alright. First off, we need to destroy the APC. It has a flamethrower. We need Avon alive at all costs.
I see one.
How's our luck? It is horrible.
No way. He can't really be.
Alright, so we haven't used them very much. I think we've actually only used Lancers a couple times. Again, those are our
Let's
anti
get started.
vehicle units. They get 3 shots, they do significantly less damage, and they're pretty inaccurate. So the only time you really use them is when a tank is just
Let's
not a
get
viable
started.
option to get over there.
Alright. And now we end our turn.
That one's down.
Rainer's gonna take the bullet. The shots.
Alright.
This is gonna be done in 3 turns, hopefully. We don't want to hit the floodgate until we're fully committed. Actually, every strat needs full commitment.
Right. So what we mean by that is there's you see the little symbol with the triangle on top of the rectangle. That's actually saying there's a button there. If you hit that button, you're going to open the floodgates. Literally, there's an actual gate that opens on another map. And from the time you hit that button, you need to hit that button and then be able to clear the map on that specific turn. if I
Enemy
remember correctly.
spotted.
If you don't, you will not be able to keep your APC alive long enough to actually finish the mission.
Medic, quick, over here, hurry!
Alright, so I need to rescue Rainer because that counts as someone on the field. I need every unit I can.
Yeah, so again, you have access to a max of 6 units. And he stopped first just to pull out the Ragnade. Again, that allows him to kind of just animation lock this V2 unit. So you see the V2 is trying to shoot him, and just kind of can't.
Also, that landmine's there to trip you up.
I see
Also, I took an incredibly dumb risk. That could have been a heavy gunner meeting me
one. Moving out.
on that passage. Like, holy crap. That was so dumb. I shouldn't even be doing it in a marathon. But,
Yeah. So what you would ideally be able to do is you would set the bridge there, but the problem is since we don't have access to the tank even, we can't set the bridge. So you have to go across that big, giant, dangerous bridge of doom with the V2 and potentially the gunners and all these other units over there.
yeah. And that is...
So now we've opened the floodgates, and we need to be able to clear this map as quickly as possible. You see there's 2 heavy gunners, those are the best nifty personnel units in the game. as far as interception fire
Watch
goes.
and learn.
We need to kill both of those because they'll even do enough damage to the APC to make a difference. Their clips hold, I believe, 50 bullets, and that's
Yeah.
50 damage to the APC if they shoot it head on each.
Yes.
By the time you get past them, it's probably 2 rounds. That's probably 200 damage that we're mitigating on the APC right here with Zeri.
I'm rolling out.
Alright. Yeah, ideally it would have been one heavy gunner, and also normally on that other area, I would have just thrown defense boost on Yvonne, and oh crap. Well, here we go. We only have one Lancer. Thankfully, there's no V2 in the middle of the area, but we got the bad spawn.
I see one.
Things are gonna get a bit complicated.
Alright. So
I
it's not
see
over
one.
quite yet. We've got to get it up to the... or down in this bottom left corner, I believe, right?
Yeah, that's a bad one.
Right, so... we're going to have to take out the supply vehicle. Thankfully, supply
Right, let's
vehicles
do
are
it.
kind of squishy as far as vehicles
I
go
see
for the
one.
opponent.
Oh god, oh god, oh god.
Like,
I did not see that guy. See what I mean? When you think you're safe, no, you're
and
not.
it's good.
Also, oh yeah, that APC. That APC is bad news. Also, I'm gonna do a little bit of scouting here.
On it.
Yeah, that APC is actually a captain unit or a ace, so it's got significantly buffed
Moving
stats.
out.
And it's pretty tricky to deal with.
And that grass is there, that's your best kind of cover. And yeah, so that APC, if it gets near you, it's gonna tear you apart a new one. And you just want to get your APC away. No matter what. And for safety reasons, you know what? I don't trust this game. I don't trust it at all.
I think I used to actually have to kill that APC
Okay, let's go.
on my original route, which was just hilarious.
Right, here we go. Cross my fingers. The enemy will be aggressive, it will go for your camp. Even if you leave it alone, they will capture it, and it has happened.
Yeah.
But,
Alright. Yeah,
Alright.
I mean, we did what we could, so we'll see what happens here.
yeah, like, there's no shame in playing this safe.
Well, so far, I don't see any X's on any, or any slashes on any of your little units, so... Oh, there's one. I spoke too soon. Renee. That makes sense. She was
Alright.
low on health.
So I used to leave Zeri out in the open, but a V2 unit could
Watch
just
and
pop out of
learn.
nowhere, bam, dead. Because I don't recapture the camp, I can only move forward.
I don't lose.
So, how do I want to do? What do you okay. You know what? I am playing it safe. I could YOLO, but no, not today, not this morning, not at 7:16 a.m.
Watch
here.
and learn. I don't lose.
Oh, you know, but you know what? It's a marathon, so let's see what happens when we do this. Oh, so male shock troopers, because they're character model, you could just go up and shoot them like this, trick the game, shoot them from the side, up in your face.
Yes.
That was so
Run right through the shield and then laugh.
Moving out.
I like how the animation even, like, you're just shooting, like, straight up in the air, and... The animations in this game don't line up with what actually
Yes.
happens.
I
It's
feel
really funny.
amazing.
yeah.
Oh, that's just rude.
Oh, whatever. I'm just.
That was rude.
Oh, please, it wasn't me.
Everybody else you shoot in the head, and then that guy, you're like, yeah,
Right, let's get her
no,
done.
we're aiming low.
What? It wasn't me. It was the game. It was the gun. Okay.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Oh, whatever.
Right, let's get
It's,
her
it's
done.
only a crotch shot or 20.
But I see you there.
Okay, 20.
See you there.
So I don't move the camera at all.
Right,
Let's see if I get this. In certain circumstances, this would be life or death. Here is
Let's get her
a
done.
very dangerous
But I
stroll
see
through
you
the
there.
park, and I got it.
Yep. And that's Beyond the Floodgates. That is the hardest mission in the game, both in the speedrun and casually.
Yeah.
At least for the normal missions. Some of the DLC or the extra missions are just... What's the word you would use? Dumb?
Yes, dumb.
That's probably the best word for them.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah. Yeah. So
Hopefully on those, you at least have access to your tank. But
To begin,
again, the
here's
reason that it's
today's
so
news.
difficult to do, and even Devin made it look easy, is you have all of these incredibly powerful units, all those V2s, all the supply tanks. You have that APC ace unit that can actually destroy your APC from the front. All of those units are terrifying when you don't have access to your tank, which would normally be your best method of handling those. Is you would send your tank in, get a couple headshots with your tank, and then retreat to safety and just hold your bases. You don't have that option in that mission because your Lavinia has to drive the escort APC instead of that. It's even funny because, like I said earlier, there are better APCs in the game, and the game actually like encourages you to use some of them. The only downside to an APC is supposed to be that it can't use anti-personnel mounted turrets, but that's not a thing.
Oh yeah,
my god, this mission now. This mission used to be a lot different. It used to involve you running around in a circle, and with stutter stepping, instead of having to do this very complicated process of capturing one base, which allows you to capture another base, which allows you to capture another base, apparently you just stutter step across Dirk, kill a supply vehicle, and then kill Dirk. I
Big s-
actually am mad that that exists.
I'm rolling out.
big
I'm
sis.
legitimately salty.
Oh man, I just gotta go fast, you know.
Eat this.
And I
So again, this mission used to be capture a base in Area 4, which would allow you to capture a
Let's get
base.
her done.
Then you'd have to send someone across the back of this map and avoid being shot at by Dirk. Big ordeal. The fact that's
Right,
possible
let's
makes me
get her
sad.
done.
and then he blocks,
Yeah, Dirk is a meanie.
Eat.
but he's dead in your face on the ground. Boom.
Down you go.
Oh
You
yeah.
shoot at Dirk with enough for the tank, and even he goes down. But yeah, Dirk can actually kill your tank from the front. He's the only unit, or with interception fire, he's the only unit in the game capable of doing that.
All right. So I'm gonna.
Outside of maybe the final boss, I think probably can, but I think he kills the tank faster than even the final boss.
Alright, so I spammed some emotes in chat, and this is gonna be like the biggest skip in the entire game.
To
I call it
begin,
the Wander
here's
Shot,
today's
named
news.
after the obvious thing. I even told Opta that RPG won't break this year. So, Clash Board deck. Let's see here. So, one shot is going to save 3 minutes. You're not supposed to do this. But, have you seen this school?
Oh, is this the one where you have to blow up the heat sinks on the fans?
Yes. Have you
Oh yeah, I think I have seen them.
Yeah. But this saves so much writing. This used to be a very pain in the butt mission, but... Also, final music from the first game, used for the second last mission.
Right. Let's get her done.
Alright. Oh. This is very difficult, by the way. Alright, I think I was a bit too... Yeah, this is... I can't stress enough how difficult this is.
Go down.
Okay, whatever. It's like, I haven't had much time to practice this week, but
Right.
I will still
Let's
get
her
this, and it's
done.
still... I will still be saving time no matter what.
Yeah, the original route for this mission involved
Boom.
running around and doing a much more complicated set
There
of
you go.
things to get a Lancer up into that area to shoot
Watch
heat
and
sinks.
learn. I feel
Excuse
amazing.
me.
I see you that
And-
I don't lose.
It turns out you
I
can
see
just
you
shoot
there.
right through the railing and position
Nothing
it
against
perfectly.
wild rounds.
And hence the Wander Shot. Also, get her done! So, we use Raynor because he's bulky and he can take hits from heavy scouts.
Oh yeah, something to note is, again, not only is the shot very precise, but you also need to line it up so as many potential angles from that shot actually work. So again, whenever you pull up your weapon, you're equally likely for your shot to go anywhere within that yellow circle. So even though that tank is so accurate and the circle is so small, and it seems like there's no way you can miss, there are actually, like, if you get a very head shot, you could probably hit a wall or something even if you lined up perfectly.
Enemy spotted.
There's a very, very rare freak chance that it could just fly outside the circle.
Yeah.
Enemy spotted.
But,
Yeah, it's you know, you can line things up perfectly and still just barely get unlucky.
yeah. And I found this out like
This
with
was actually, I believe, one of the missions, or these sets of missions were one of the reasons it was really nice to have Yvonne as a scout elite. Is that extra defense running across that tank.
yeah.
And then you can see Renee's got a nice, easy shot at the turret sink here.
Goal. But we are on the final mission, so yeah. So Baldrin isn't going down without a fight, and so he's souping up. I'm just gonna do this in one turn. If I mess up, I'm gonna keep on redoing this until I get it. This is very scary for me in a PB/world record
To
attempt
begin, here is
because
today's
things
news.
I could miss, and I only have so many actions to do here.
Right, so I guess to kind of go into Baldwin so that Devin can focus on the run, what basically happened is he kind of knows that V2's unit's biggest weakness is they don't have enough energy to actually power their suits of armor. So you have to have a supply vehicle in the area that puts out a passive electric field strong enough to power those units. So he actually straps a giant battery to his back, or his own little Ragnite crate, basically, that allows him to have basically all the benefits of being a V2 without the downside of relying on a supply vehicle. What that means is that he
Roger.
has a weak point on his back that's very important
Enemy
to get
sighted.
to. And yeah, so he's ditched the shock trooper rifle that he used in previous 2 encounters against him.
Watch and learn.
And now is essentially a
I'm in
V2
top
with a
form.
built-in supply vehicle.
I see you there.
So we're gonna try to get past
I
him,
don't lose.
break the
I see you there.
armor on his back, and then finish him off. And unlike every other V2 in the game, he can actually dodge.
Moving out. I feel
So
amazing.
he's definitely an annoying unit to deal with.
Yeah.
So, that said, I think he's probably one of the better designed boss in the series if you compare him to his predecessor in Final Bosses, where Maximilian, I
Let's go.
believe was his name, was
Yeah.
kind of a
Watch
janky
over me, Leon.
final boss in the original Valkyria Chronicles.
Oh yes, come on, come on. Alright, so let me think here. So, for some reason, normally it takes 2 shots to destroy the engine, but from the angle I'm gonna do it, it will take 1, but that's if it's hit. So, somebody get ready on time. It may happen quickly, we don't know, but...
So
Shit.
we got Lavinia going for this.
We have
Again,
2...
Lavinia with higher damage. We use Yvonne to turn him around so we can get the shot potentially.
Yeah, I feel great.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, like I said, I had a bad PB pace run, die right here. Went up in flames. Anyway, we're gonna see what happens. Yes, okay, so get ready in time, because, oh, I'm feeling great. This is wonderful. First time, so, headshot. Alright, get ready, because you know what? I'll say what. Oh. Time. Looks like school just got out. Oh yeah. It's a one-liner I do at the end of every single run I've done since the first one.
Yeah, we did it. Clash G saves the day.
3:44:41. That's the really good for a marathon run. I will take that.
Yeah, good job. So, great run.
Yep, I do want to show off one more thing. I kind of a treat for everyone who's been up late or whatever time, so gonna show off my favorite cutscene. You just get there. But yeah, that was the longest run in shots fired to date.
Look! There's the signal! Well, this is it. Everybody ready to pull? All together now!
Sure, let's go.
And he...
Despite the low resolution, this cutscene's actually pretty well animated. It's cool how they still kept the aesthetic with the storybook style, or the sketch style.
Yeah. I never get tired of this. I never do.
Cosette, don't.
I can't believe it! I'm so glad you're safe!
Oh, and I just love how Cordelia, the ruler Galia, or whatever. She just happens to be there. Oh, I'm on the boat too. Hi, everyone.
We did it.
But,
Yeah.
yeah. Valkyria Chronicles 2.
We're
Yeah,
here
so
today to
again, everybody, that was
celebrate your
Valkyria Chronicles
graduation.
2. Thanks again
Thinking back
to
over the year
my
we
good
spent
friend,
together,
TheWanderingMind,
my head
aka
spins
Devin,
all
for
that's
having me
happened.
on. Please follow this guy on Twitch, and yeah,
But
that's
all
pretty much
things,
it. Thanks for
both
watching,
good
everybody.
and bad, must
Thank you all.
eventually come to an end. Like seeds carried off on a warm spring wind, each of you will venture out into the world and find a place of your own. And though that's as it should be,